Welcome to the Soscast, where finance meets romance, the sexiest financial podcast in the world, only here on Valuetainment, the #1 channel in the world for entrepreneurs. As we all know, for you men and even women out there, our only goal here is to see you get paid, laid, and do it your way. Finance, romance, have the time of your life. And as you know, we bring in very special guests here with very different perspectives, all to serve game. We don't bring slouches on this show. Whether it's a man, whether it's a woman, we're only bringing the best of the best here. So with that being said, let's meet our panel today. We've got a couple newcomers and a couple oldies but goodies. I'm talking about you. I would never say that about you, Janelle. But goodies with you. To my left, female entrepreneur, 30 under 30. Explain it. What is it exactly? Sales leader?
Yes, currently #1 female sales trainer under 30. I'm a CEO and founder of Elite Sales Women.
Kayla Hodge is in the house. And you're moving to Arizona soon.
I am moving to Scottsdale next week.
So we're lucky we caught you.
Yes,
we're very lucky. Another newcomer to the show, Linda Catalina, a political commentator, mostly conservative Latina entrepreneur. She doesn't ruffle any feathers ever.
Never.
She's just, very peaceful, no drama for your mama. Speaking of very peaceful and no drama, Janelle's back. Janelle Gordon's in the house. I affectionately call her Mama MILF.
That's right.
Sexpert, orgasmic life. She's in white today. I've never seen her in white. Usually in red, and I don't know if you and Linda...
We did not plan this. I'm just, getting ready for my Tantra retreat. So I'm got my mudras on. I'm just, channeling.
You seem very calm today.
I am.
Why so calm?
Well, last time I caused a little bit of a ruckus.
So you're being nice today?
Well, maybe.
Okay. And speaking of being nice, Sterling Cooper's in the house. He's back. You were running for President of the United States the last time you were here. Can we get that shot in the background, please? Yeah. Deli, can we focus on that? Sterling, what was your speech that you gave last time? Let's get to...
Oh, goodness. Okay. Look, vote for Sterling 2024. We're going to take over the world. We're going to take over Miami, take over America.
Manly man.
Make sure everyone's getting laid and getting paid like Adam wants.
That's true.
And they're right.
Manly man, sex coach. We bring in people that can give you advice on all facets of life and what it means to be a man. I just had a birthday recently. Ooh. And you might be thinking, well, when you turn 40 again for the second or third time, at that point you might become a man at some point. I feel like now I'm officially going from like a Miami boy, party boy, to becoming a man. You might say, what took you so long? If you live in Miami, you know what takes guys so long. So I'm excited to start the show with our team today. So why don't we do this? Before we get started, what we ask everybody is how you make your money and your relationship status. So why don't you start first, Kayla?
I have a sales training company for women. And as of this past weekend, I am officially a girlfriend.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So
Who's the lovely...
I can't say yet.
Okay. Can you give us a hint?
No.
Is it a boy? Is it a girl? Is it an alien? Is it transgender? Is it a macho man? Is it a... Give me
He's
a
really
something.
amazing man, and
Amazing.
we will be launching publicly in the next 2 to 3 months.
Launching publicly.
This is not
sounds
PR
like a course
stunt at
This
all.
sounds like an IPO.
It does sound like a...
Well, I'm going to dap you up because your man is very lucky.
Thanks.
Just so you know, we met speaking on a panel that Melissa put together, Epic Talks,
Yes.
where we were on an amazing panel with sales leaders, entrepreneurs, and Marcus Lemonis was the keynote speaker. If you're not familiar with Marcus Lemonis, he was on CNBC, The Prophet, amazing guy. I think he read your mind, blew your mind, right?
Yeah, he read my mind.
He was awesome. I really had a newfound respect for him today. So sales leader and launching her relationship soon. Her relationship coming to a TV station
Does it
near
sound
you.
like a recipe for disaster? No.
I'm really excited.
Okay, Linda Catalina.
Hi.
Relationship status and how you make your money.
So I'm single, and I have an e-commerce store in Shopify. It's called Shop Chivalry, and I also have brand deals because of my social media accounts.
Okay. Entrepreneur, to say the least. Speaking of, I think I want to come up with a new you. I kind of came up with
do it.
sexpert.
Yeah.
Now I'm like thinking of like sextrapreneur.
I like
I don't
that.
know. Have you ever been anywhere?
I like that.
Okay.
Sextrapreneur. I'll go with
Well,
that.
you know, you embrace your sexuality. You
I-
teach men and women how to kind of live their best life in that regard, an
Yes,
orgasmic life,
an
some may
orgasmic
say.
life. Absolutely.
So relationship status, and we know how you make your money with your retreats and
One-on-one
your
coaching, group coaching, online courses. So if you want to get better at relationship intimacy and sex, then I'm the person for you.
There we go.
Relationship status, I'm seeing someone, so I'm not going to say details because I think I've said a lot of details in the past.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not so great.
Is this a new leaf for turning a new leaf for Janelle? What's going on right now?
Unfortunately, the ex is still around. He's coming to my retreat.
Okay.
But he's coming as like he's working with me.
I actually like this version of you right now. It's like a little more mellow,
Yeah.
more thoughtful,
It's more demure.
demure. If I knew what that meant, I'd probably say wow.
Me right now. So yeah, someone new, someone a little more age appropriate.
Okay. All right, Sterling, how many relationships are you in currently? How many millions are you making this month? Let's hear what you got going on.
You want the honest answer or not?
Yeah,
Okay.
whatever you want. You're running for president.
Right now I'm in 4 relationships.
I thought we were going to stop talking about
Yeah,
this
I
publicly.
said that as well. Yeah, didn't I?
Yeah.
But Adam asked specifically. So
Yes.
I'm in a relationship with 4 different women. I make my money by teaching men how to perform better in the bedroom. Kind of similar vein to what
We have
Janelle does, but
the
on
male
a,
version, the female version.
yeah, male version, female
Might
version.
have a
Entrepreneur,
spiritual side.
commentator, wide range panel. Speaking of wide range, the best of the best is over there. Natalia's in the house.
Hi, everyone.
Nat, it's great to see you. I haven't. I feel like it's the longest we've gone
I know.
without talking.
I miss you. I haven't
miss
seen
you
you.
too.
Glad to be back.
You know,
Glad for
Sterling
Soscast
talks
back.
about his 4 girlfriends.
Oh.
I'm trying to manage 1 right now.
How's that
So,
going?
You know, it's
going.
It's going.
It's going
Good.
You guys would-
So how you have 4 is beyond me.
You know what? I find I'm a way better boyfriend to 4 than I am to 1.
Yeah, we
Wow.
talked about
Why?
this earlier.
Well, we're going to
It's a
talk
time
about that.
efficiency thing.
Oh.
Time efficiency.
Anyway.
Well, be prepared to talk about that today. The 4 versus 1.
Just what you said, I'm gonna
We're going to be talking about wide range. Natalia, before we get started, what should we know? What's going on? You look lovely.
Thank you.
Smile to the camera.
Cheese.
Teeth whitening work for me. Bang. That's like.
They're actually naturally white. I haven't.
Are they
whitened
really
them.
natural?
Yeah, my mom wouldn't let me whiten them, so I
Okay.
appreciate you.
Well,
Mom.
if you did whiten them, people would be go
You're
blind.
blind.
I've gotten that. But before we get started, thank you all for joining today's podcast. I'll be reading the super chats of everything you guys give us today. So make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, do all that good stuff. Because today's panel should be a really interesting panel. We have a nice, diverse panel from different perspectives, to being in a relationship, to being single, to having an entrepreneur. So make sure you guys give us some good comments, good chats, because I'll be reading them today. And let's get this party started.
Let's get this
man.
party started. I think we'll be answering super chats throughout.
Yes.
So if you have questions for any of our guests, they're going to be answering your questions. Be nice, be appropriate, be gentlemen and ladies out there. We are grown-ups. We are not children on this podcast. So play nice out there. Speaking of playing nice, let's talk about playing nice on the internet real quick. Shout out to our sponsor real quick. Have to give a shout out to our sponsor, Aura, A-U-R-A, Aura. I'm all about protecting your money, saving that money, and protecting yourself and your identity online. If you ever think about how much information is out there on the dark web, I mean, just saying the name dark web kind of gives me the creeps. Your legal name, your date of birth, your email address, your phone number, social security, driver's license, a lot of numbers going on right there, a lot of information going on out there. And this is exactly what cyber criminals are looking for. And how do you protect yourself? That's exactly what Aura does. I started using Aura, and I had names, likeness, all stuff going on the internet. Can't imagine what else is going on out there. So, Aura exists as an identity theft protection monitor, fraud monitor, VPN, password management, antivirus software, all in one easy-to-use app. It monitors the dark web for your emails, passwords, social security numbers, and it sends you alerts right to your phone and email. Real-time alerts. Anytime someone's trying to use your name, your likeness, credit card inquiries, all that fun stuff. Protect your family and your identity theft at aura.com. They're giving a special free trial if you go to aura.com, A-U-R-A, aura.com/Soscast, S-O-S-C-A-S-T. You can get 2-week free trial when you sign up and make sure your personal information has not been compromised. I did it. I saw what was going on out there on the dark web. Highly recommend, if that's a concern of yours, to check it out. With that being said, let's start the show. So I'm obsessed these days with this concept of being a man. I'm also obsessed with the concept of being a woman. There's like the number one biography or documentary right now is What is a Woman? And I know that somebody's probably going to do What is a Man? Mm-hmm. So I was pretty open before the show that it's very easy, especially living in Miami South Beach, to maintain the Peter Pan lifestyle for longer than usual. Same thing for ladies right here. So what I kind of want to just get your guys' opinion on is, at what age do you think a boy officially becomes a man, right? And at what age a girl becomes a woman? I think that'd be a good place to start. And then we're going to get into really the three things that it takes to actually be a man in society. And I want to get all your guys' thoughts on this. So, Linda, you're in Miami.
Yes.
You're around, so you understand what's going on here. At what age, in your experience, would you say a boy needs to become a man, or a young guy needs to officially man up and be a man? What do you think?
Well, I think it's circumstantial, because what if you get a girl pregnant when you're like 19 years old and now you're forced to become a man and a father? So I don't think there's a specific age. Obviously, if you're in Miami or Vegas or New York, you have a little bit more time to mess around and just kind of like maybe go to college and, you know, I'll wait till marriage, I'll wait. So I don't think there's an age, but I think there's just circumstantial. If you go to, like, you just came back from Wyoming or these places in America that are a little bit, or they're far away from like what we call like degeneracy and temptation, you're going to notice that they get married very young, especially if they're Christian or Orthodox Jewish, or we can talk about the Muslim community as well. But it just really depends on like your location and then the circumstances, I think.
Yeah, I actually agree. I think Shia LaBeouf, when he did his interview with John Bernthal, he said, like, when do you become a man? And his answer was, when you have to be responsible for others.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So like having a kid really forces you to grow up. I'm kidless and wifeless right now, intentionally, but at the same time, I am responsible for certain family members around me. I take care of my mom. I make sure that my sister's good. Like, so you don't necessarily need to have a kid to be a man. I think it's when you kind of get out of like the term that they're thrown around these days, like the fuck boy phase, and you realize, all right, there's a little bit more to life than just kind of like partying a little bit. And took me a while to realize that. What do you think? Because you have a daughter.
I have a 10-year-old.
But from a woman's perspective, you're dealing with men out there. You're about to announce your relationship, I assume, to a man, a man's man. At what age do you think, or what time frame in a man's life do you think he goes from being a boy to a man?
I feel like there's two options for this. Like, first is like purpose. When you have purpose, you're like super driven and you're trying to build the kingdom, right? Like, men go from like knights and they're scouting around and trying to figure things out, and then you go into princehood where you're wanting to build your kingdom, and then you become a king and you want to make room for the queen, right? So where's their purpose? Where's their drive? Where are they focused on? And then you go back to science. Like, when is their prefrontal cortex fully formulated, right? They're formulated a little bit after timeline for a woman. I can't specifically tell you exactly what time right now.
25, I think.
Yeah, like 25 versus like women is younger, right?
I'm not sure about women, but I think it's like 25.
For women, 25, and men 30.
I don't know.
I'm not sure, but I know that there's a difference.
Yeah,
so
but I love what you said
science.
initially about the almost like medieval hierarchy of a man.
First, men are knights. They want to adventure. They're curious. They want to go see things, right?
Yes.
Like, they want to go do things. Let them be knights. And then they go into princehood and they start to build the kingdom. And then women get pissed off at the man for building the kingdom. They're like, why aren't you paying attention to me? Well, because he's trying to build for his future so that he can have the space to give you what he wants. And they get all upset with him because they're not letting him build, and then you're a king. And then you have space for the queen. But sometimes they don't realize that they had a queen by them the whole time. And so they're so focused on building the kingdom, they miss out. And then, there's so much to go into.
I absolutely love that answer because, the rule of threes. So summarize everything in threes. So when I say that, like, financially or even as a man of status, men start off with nothing. You're a red light. and then eventually you got to get to a yellow light and you get to a green light. Like that, you know, financially you might be drowning in debt, paycheck to paycheck. You save some money, you become an investor, right? Man of status, similar thing. I love what you said there. Being a knight, running around, having fun, adventure, becoming a prince, and becoming the king of your kingdom. Respect to that. Janelle.
That's Allison Armstrong. She
Yes.
writes all these books about that.
Okay.
I find her stuff a little bit scattered, but the concept is that they go through the 3 stages like
Okay.
that. I think personally, and you might disagree with me on this, I think that in today's, like, I think if you're fucking, then you're a man.
Wow.
Because listen, you're fucking, which means there's a chance that you can get a woman pregnant. So I don't care if you start fucking at 12, you're a man, or you have to become a man, because you could literally bring a life into this world.
So is it based on the risk of it or the actual
I think
fruition of having a child?
It's the response. Like, this is what I say about sex. There's a lot of like, oh, I don't talk to my kids about sex. And I think that you have to talk to your kids about sex like when they're my son's age. And I know a lot of people don't agree with that. You have to do it in an age appropriate way. But my son absolutely knows what sex is. He knows that like the anatomy in different languages. He doesn't call it taco or like, this is my hot dog or weird shit like
And
parents
how old
do.
is he?
He's 7.
Oh, and you're getting him started early.
I know, he knows what's up. He's not weird. It's like, to him, it's like talking about the sky is blue, sex. Like, he's just, he's not.
The birds and the bees, literally.
It's not weird. It's not,
Yeah.
and that's when you get into problems when when it's taboo,
Yep.
and you keep it from. Oh, listen, that's your hot dog. That's your taco. It's like, no, that's absolutely not what it is. So when you're taking about that approach, you're talking about sex in general. If young and guys are, when did you lose your virginity?
I was 16. Thank
How
you for
about you?
asking.
So you guys are men, because here's why. Think about this concept. When is driving dangerous? Are
It
there
can
risks
be,
in
yes.
life? Correct.
Yes.
But it's also very useful, right? It takes you from A to B, and we don't have to walk anymore or ride a little bike or whatever weird shit we used to do back in the day.
Yeah.
You can go somewhere now. With that being said, you can't drive without what?
Driver's license?
Insurance.
Oh, insurance. Okay.
Means
Protection.
Protection. So if you're out sleeping around, which we know people are sleeping around younger and younger today, the average child gets their first hit of porn, no disrespect, but at 9 to 11 is the average age. And by the way, they did not go looking for that. They weren't like, let me find porn. It was on a device of someone they trusted.
Yeah, it's called Instagram, pretty much at this point.
Basically, exactly. So with that being said, I think that men have to man up quicker than what we used to because of how things are. Like you said, Instagram's now porn.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you. What I love about you is you have a different perspective than everyone.
Correct.
And I think that's a foundation of a good conversation.
Yeah.
Is that you may say some shit that you
Most people
started it
don't
off
agree.
saying, Adam, you may disagree.
Yeah.
Which I do, by the way,
Yeah,
which I'll
I
give
know
you my
do.
answer.
I know you do.
But I love this because we're not all supposed to agree.
Correct.
We're supposed to find common ground and agree to disagree at some points.
Right.
I happen to think, like you're saying, that once you start having sex,
That you-
I can tell you from personal experience, when I was 16 or 18 and starting to really have a sexual activity, I can full on tell you I was not a man yet.
I believe that.
No, exactly. And I think in today's society, people are sleeping around more and more, younger and younger. And I don't think that's what it takes to be a man. You know, they say that, anyone can be a father, have a kid. But it takes a real man to be a dad.
Correct.
So I think being a dad and being responsible and taking care of what you've created is at a higher level than just some dude who's fucking.
Correct, but there's the chance. What I was saying about insurance, I brought that up for a whole reason. Is if you're having sex, there's a chance that there's a high chance that you can get someone pregnant.
No doubt.
And so with that being, too much is given, much is required. You have to step up to that plate and say, okay, I need to know what it takes to be a man. Not saying you are one, but you should be embodying those if you're going to be fucking. For me, like I say, if you can't talk about sex, don't have it. If you can't sit down on a first date and say, we talked about this earlier, talk about your STI history. Tell your girl, I'm not going to only be fucking you. There's 3 more or 4 more of you. All that shit should be happening first date. And if you can't do that, don't have sex.
Wow.
And you're not a man yet.
Well, I'd love to hear what the audience has to say about that. Does having sex make you a man, like Janelle is saying?
Correct.
Or is there more to it? I love your response.
I don't think it's making, but I'm saying like you should be like, if you're going to be having sex, you should be on that path to being.
By the way, side note, and then I obviously want to get Sterling's
Yeah.
opinion. So we're talking about sex makes you a man. We've all seen the movie The 40-Year-Old Virgin. So let's extrapolate that into real life.
Yeah.
You're 40 years old. You haven't had sex. Are you technically a man?
He's not. He was clearly not a man. Look at the watch the video. Did you call that
Steve
a man?
Carell, I know you're a big fan of the show.
Steve
I'm
Carell, I
sorry,
love
buddy.
Steve Carell, by the way.
Okay.
It's hilarious.
So even a 40-year-old virgin is not a man.
I don't think so. That kind of that virgin mentality like that's I mean, come on, you're born with a dick to use, to procreate, to have pleasure, to if you're smart and you take my courses to learn how to use sex to make money, like this is what you're given a dick for. You're not using it. You're not fulfilling your purpose as a man.
Okay. Well, Sterling, as someone, you know, who's certainly not going
He's
to
used it.
qualify for the role of 40-year-old virgin.
Thank you.
Thank you. You and I, you know, are the only men on this panel. So I'm very interested in hearing your response and what your response would be to Janelle. At what age did you lose your virginity at?
15.
15. Okay, so I was a year behind you. I gotta come correct.
Gotcha.
So would you say that when you were 15 and you had sex for the first time, you became a man,
No.
or was it later in life?
No, I disagree with that definition. I definitely did not become a man just by losing my V card. I would go with the classical definition of when a man becomes a man is when he goes through a rite of passage. And we don't really have one, unfortunately, a classical defined rite of passage for men anymore in the Western world. I mean, you look at the men who died in the trenches in World War I, 16 years old, they were men, but they were 16 years old because they went through a rite of passage, you know, running into machine gun fire. Now, men can get into their 30s, 40s without actually going through any kind of real, meaningful rite of passage, turning them into men anymore. And what you might then ask, okay, what makes a rite of passage? And it's kind of hard to define now, but I think it'd be something that would push you out of your comfort zone, something to make you confront the fact that no one is coming to save you.
Yeah.
You're responsible for your life and for the direction of your life, and for, you know, maybe you're responsible for a child now, maybe you're responsible for employees. But that rite of passage is going to be kind of different for every man. But I think a man knows when he has gone through that. And I think a man, if he's honest with himself, also knows when he hasn't gone through that yet.
Yeah, I think there's a famous quote out there that, you know, every man or every person has two lives. And the first one and the second one is when he realizes that he only has one. Like he went through something that changed something in his mind frame to realize, holy moly, I actually only have one life. But it was like, then you start living your second life. So for me, and I'm very open and candid about this, Peter Pan type of mentality, even though I'm making money and I was working at a financial firm and had success, you know, on paper, you know, on the weekends, there I am in the clubs at South Beach living it up. And it's very easy not to become a man. And I had to go through that all in one summer, of the summer of 2019, where the girl I was with, absolutely in love with this girl, got cancer, got very sick. Had to deal with that, be there for her. Into that situation, my father dies. Okay, double dose. Now I'm the man of the family, literally. And then I go through a depression where I'm like usually the most vibrant, engaging, happy guy. Like that's genuinely my nature. And now I'm like the sad dude. I'm like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh, which is not me. But I had to go through that. And then I remember that was 2019. I said, let me just get to New Year's 2020, new year, new decade. What could go wrong?
Nothing.
2020.
So
and then thanks COVID for all that. So I feel like, you know, in society today, life expectancy is longer. You talked about World War I, World War II. That life expectancy was 50, 60 years old at that point. Now people are living to 80, 90, 100, no problem. So you can delay being a man. But here's what I'll tell you guys at home. Whether you're 22, whether you're 28, or you're 32, whether you're 43, at some point, you need to transition from boyhood to manhood. And for me, that number, ironically enough, was 40. Like late 30s, early 40s, I was like, oh shit. Like life just got flipped upside down like I'm Fresh Prince over here. And I need to wake up and realize this is why we got one life.
Yeah.
So I think for most men, just to put a ribbon on this, most boys don't become men until they're about age 30.
Yeah.
I would say something goes off in their head. So hopefully they've lost their virginity by age 30.
But what I was saying,
Yeah.
and I think what I was saying was, I get where you're saying, like, my point in saying that is, if you're like starting to have sex, that should be the time when I believe sex is a rite of passage, is my point.
Okay. All right.
So, and it is
I
a
agree to
ritual.
that. Great point.
And a lot of people don't treat it as such,
Okay.
which is why we have a lot of children out fucking a lot of women and fucking up
I
the
believe it's
whole-
called babies having babies.
Correct.
So here's what I want to do, because we can have this debate discussion. Give me a number. You've been out there. You've been on dates. You know what's out there in the sexual marketplace. You know what's out there in the business marketplace. If you can give me a number, not a whole diatribe, just give a number of what you think it takes for a boy to transition to a man. You want to go first? What number?
Has to be a number.
Mid-30s.
Mid-30s. Linda?
I would say 35.
35.
Yeah.
I'll say 33 when Jesus passed.
Okay.
Nice answer. Yeah, I'd probably say like around 30
Yeah.
is when a guy starts to transition like
Yeah,
that.
and I think that's fine because we have a lot of people in the audience who are 22, 24, 26, and they're maybe not happy with where they're at in life. And we know, as guys who are late 30s, early 40s, life takes time. Take some time to marinate. Get the sauce cooking in the kitchen.
For men,
just because
especially.
Men especially.
Yeah.
Just because you're not where you're at, where you want to be at 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, doesn't mean that the next phase or next chapter of your life won't be what you want it to be. I'm just hitting my stride in my early 40s. And I think that's something that men need to recognize, is that it takes time. Women, a little bit different.
Yeah.
Women,
Much different.
you know, a lot of women, and we have 3 very beautiful women on the panel. I think you know that women, whether it's out in the marketplace, in the business space, are forced to become not girls, women much sooner than a man. What's your experience with this? At what age do you think a girl becomes a woman in today's society?
Yeah. Well, if we say biologically, then you'd say like when she gets her period, right? That was back in the day. That's why our grandparents would start having kids at like 14 years old, and they had like 10 kids. I think in society today, it's a little bit different. So I would say like early 20s for women. I think they mature a little bit faster than men, and a lot of times they want to start having kids, your biological clock. So I do think it's before that 35 age range. But again, circumstantial. I have friends that started having kids at 18, and you know, they have 5 kids now, but they live in like the middle of Texas. They skipped college. They got married to the one guy that they had sex in, you know, the first time. So
Those people don't count. No disrespect.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know
you're
what?
making some enemies in the Midwest.
No, I'm just
the bread
saying-
basket.
I mean, there are a
It's
lot of those
different
people.
from-
We live in Miami, so we don't see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
But-
live in OC.
Right,
I
but-
don't live in Miami.
But if
Well,
you
fair enough.
And I'm almost throwing myself under the bus here. I think we are the outliers. I think
We are.
people in Miami,
Definitely.
New York,
That's
right.
LA, certain major metropolitan cities.
We are not
we're the
normal
outliers.
America.
Normal America is probably
More
much
like-
younger,
Correct.
skews much younger than us. At
There's
what
a-
age do you think you became a woman?
Well, I had my daughter at 19,
You see.
right? And so, you know, my daughter's 10 now. And I really feel like even though I had her so young, I still didn't know who I was or what I was doing. I felt like I became who I am at like 25. And then it kind of got my purpose around 26, 27. And, you know, like I think that, yeah, like 25 was a good age.
Okay. What do you
I
think?
think
When do you
that-
think you became a woman, Janelle?
Well,
Because I know you're going to be 30 soon, so it's...
I'm going to be 30 soon. But to
Yeah.
answer her question real quick, when she's talked about biologically around 14, you know, girls are having periods now are 8 or 9 years old. And that's because of all the stuff they're putting in in milk and the hormones. So you can't even use that anymore as a rule of thumb, that when you get your period, you're a woman. Because what, your 9-year-old's a woman now? She's cycling because of all the hormones and the food. But here's my answer, and then I'll tell you when I became a woman. I don't think women become women anymore. I feel like there's no more women on the planet anymore. All the women have turned into men.
All of them?
I'd say a good 80, 90% yes.
On the planet or in Western
and then
societies?
Western America and then Western societies.
Is that mindset? Obviously, you don't make biological. You mean mindset?
I mean, I see a lot of it even in the, and I know I'm going to piss off some fitness people. We were talking about this on the podcast. Even some of the women in fitness today. I've been on some panels with some girls that look like they could beat up all of y'all. And although it takes a tremendous amount of dedication and to get your body that way, I disagree with that type of heavily masculine, strong body. I think it turns women into men, and it does alter their hormones to build that amount of muscle. So that's just one aspect, but that's a small percent.
But one thing that I think you stand for are traditional gender roles.
Traditional gender roles, and the fact that women now think like men. They out-earn most of men. They're not having children now. In 10 years, there's going to be more women on the planet that are single with a ton of money in their account, but no strollers anywhere in sight. So I think that we have a society now that doesn't encourage womanhood anymore. And women, there's just, I feel like a high-value woman, a feminine, surrendered, open, receptive, submissive woman, I think they are so rare. If you find one, guys, hold on to them.
I would agree to that.
I would
So
agree.
what
Now,
age
when
do
did
you
I
think
be
you
okay?
became?
So I would say after I had my, similar to what Sterling was saying, I had some crazy life things that happened to me, and I had a spiritual awakening. I was had my son, same age Jesus passed, so 34 as I had my son. But in my 31, 32, and I found Tantra, and I found the concept of sexual polarity. And then I had a purpose. I was like, oh, shit. Like, I need to bring this to the masses. And then I had my son, and that just like, because when you have a child, it changes your hormones. And they don't, it's like they're altered during childbirth so that you can go through the pain. And I feel like from that was birthed a new person. I didn't used to be this, like, I've always had, like, I was an introvert, believe it or not. So I became this, like, Shakti.
Well, it's always like the good girls, the quiet ones who end up being,
Yeah, I became
the Janelle
Shakti.
Gordons of the world.
The Janelle
So it
Gordons of the
almost
world.
sounds like there's two components here.
Yeah.
There's the biological answers where you said, 10, 12, 16, whatever, you start having sex and when you have your period, right? And then there's maybe the more Kayla response where she's saying, listen, I had a daughter at 19, but I don't feel like I even became a woman until I was 25. So there's that sort of like disconnect or cognitive distance. Let me ask someone who's, I think, going through this right now. Natalia,
Hello.
you're still 21, 5
Yes.
years later.
Yes.
25.
Yes.
Do you think that you are still a young lady? Do you think you're a girl? Do you think you're a young woman? Do you think you're officially a woman? When do you think you became a woman or will become a woman?
I think I'm in the phase of being a woman, like a young woman into a woman. I agree with Kayla. I think like 24, 25, you've had some life experience, you've gone through college, you kind of had some, taste of the real world. So I think around that age, you start to think of your future a little bit more. But it can also be like when you're about to have a kid. I think if you're 19, right, and you prepare to have a kid, I think you kind of get in the mindset of, I'm about to become a woman, I'm about to become a mother, I'm about to go through different experiences. So I really do think it depends on where the women are at in a relationship, in their lifestyle, and kind of what they want to do. Some people, like, there's women who go through college, and after college, they're still like in that phase of like, I'm working, I'm doing this, and that doesn't necessarily make you a woman.
Right.
You just kind of go into like career mode and you go that route. So I think it just depends on the person and on the woman and where she's at.
Well, what I'm hearing, and I think the panel agrees, that women become women before men become men, age-wise. We've kind of identified that women, at least mentally, become women in their mid-20s, whereas men become more men in their early 30s. Is that fair to say? Are you with me?
I think
Sterling?
men take on that mentality of responsibility in their 30s. Yes.
Yeah.
But I would, so how I would define when a woman becomes a woman, I would say that a woman because I'm going to add another layer on top of that, and I think there's a girl, there's a woman, and there's a mother. Right. I think the highest level of maturity for a woman is once she's had a child and
Hopefully.
becomes a mother. Some women they get pregnant early. They go straight from girl to mother,
Yeah.
and then they have to wait for the woman part to come in a bit later, right?
Yeah.
But I think the woman part comes in when a woman understands that she has power over men through sex. I think that's I think that defines a transition from a girl to a woman.
Yeah.
Once she realizes she has that power in her with her vagina, she can make men do things and get what she wants through that power. I think that's a pretty clear, because that's when they change. That's when they change what they're doing, how they act, what they get out of life. They start getting things because of their beauty.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty clear definition of like, okay, she's realized she has power here, so now she is a woman, and she can use that power however she likes, and she can make that transition to becoming a mother, or she can keep being a woman for an extended period of time.
I think Sterling just nailed it, much like how I said you kind of nailed that. This rule of threes, I talked about in the financial world going from red light, yellow light, green light, getting out of debt, saving to becoming an investor. Kayla talked as becoming a man, to use a medieval analogy, being a knight, being a prince, and then being a king.
I really like that
developing your
analogy, by the way.
kingdom.
I like that.
And then
Allison Armstrong.
what you said for a woman, being a girl, a woman, and then a mother. These are stages and phases of life. And I think it's important just to recognize these types of stages. Here's where I want to go to next. Speaking of rule of threes, I've been doing some research, and I want to explain this. I think, I'm sure there's more, but for the sake of this conversation today, I want to talk about the 3 elements of being a man in today's society. And that is being a provider, a protector, and being present, which I learned from our friend Janelle. And I as much as I was a fan of Boys to Men, End of the Road, Down on Bended Knee, at some point those boys needed to become men. And I think that's sort of the premise of what we're doing here. I started this show, everything we talked about here on Soscast is make money, being a provider. Okay, cool. Then I said, all right, in order to make money, then you can have status and women and all the byproducts of all that. All right, great. Now you're a protector and you're being present for women. But ultimately what we're solving for here is, what does it really take to be a man in today's society? And I want to start with the concept of being a provider. After all, this is a financial type show, so we'll start there. So by the way, shout out to the Art of Manliness. They've got a lot of this information on their awesome website. So here's the traditional definition of a provider, and then we'll have this conversation. So the definition of a provider is that the man typically is the breadwinner. He has a good job, earns steady income, provides food, shelter, and lifestyle for his wife and family. But it goes beyond the paycheck, right? And a man also must have a vision for the family, must have leadership, must sort of have like a get on board and follow me mentality. It's more than just making money. It's, I know where I'm going, jump on the train, we're going this way, I got money, I've got a vision, I've got leadership, and all this, I have a plan, I'll strategize for this, let's do this. So I think that is a very important caveat, that it's not just money being the breadwinner, it's also being the leader. What I want to ask you ladies is, what do you look for in a provider? And in many cases, do you look at yourself as the provider, today? Why don't I start with you, Linda?
Did you mean to say, like, what do you look for in a guy?
Yes.
Okay, so
As a provider.
as a provider.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because some women, let me just rephrase that. Some women will say, well, I don't need a man to be a provider.
Right.
I'll do my own thing. I don't need a man to pay my bills, bring home the bacon.
Right.
And fair enough. Some women are like that. Some women will say, no, hell no. I want a man to be a provider.
Yeah.
What do you think is a good balance in a relationship?
For me, I want a man to be a provider. Like, I want to be a stay-at-home wife. That's what I saw my mom do. That's what I saw my grandma do. That's what I've seen every woman in my family. They're happy. They're content. One thing that I noticed, like with my mom and grandma, is that they never say like, oh, what is my purpose? Like, I'm looking for purpose. Like a lot of millennials and Gen Z, like the newer generations say, like they need a purpose. Like for them, the purpose was having kids. So for me, that's pretty much it. Like, I want someone who's going to be able to provide so I can homeschool my kids. Because I'm in the conservative world, I see a lot of what goes on in schools, what they teach children, the indoctrination with the LGBT, the race stuff. And so I don't want my kids to go through that education, right? Let's say that I marry someone who has a good income, but they can't pay for private school that's like $50,000 a year, then I want to be the person to teach my children. So
if the man is the provider,
yeah.
Speak numbers for a second. Do you want him to provide 100% of the income?
Yeah.
80%? The whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay. And then your role will be the housewife, the homemaker,
Yeah.
the caretaker. That you believe that is the perfect role?
Yes.
And so are you saying that a woman shouldn't necessarily have a purpose or a passion, or that should be the role of motherhood?
So this is where I'm kind of like torn. Like I'll be honest, because there are some women that I know that did that and they are not happy. So it makes me wonder, like, okay, well, what is the situation here? You know, some people will argue that just having kids and being a housewife is going to give you purpose. But what about those women that did it and they don't feel fulfilled?
Mm-hmm.
So I wish I had all the answers. I think that I'll be happy if I can help my husband as well with his, let's say he has his own business, you know, can I be his PR person? Can I be his social media manager? I feel like there's skills that we have now, especially with the internet, that we can like work from home, right? Or like have a side business or help him.
All right, last question on
yeah.
this, and then I want to get Kayla's response. You said you're in a relationship right now, or no?
No.
Okay,
Right now.
so you're gonna, let's say you're an attractive woman. I assume you have no shortage of suitors, and
Yeah.
you're probably, not settling. I would assume. Are you gonna be upfront with the guy on dates and say, "Hey, look, I'm Linda. This
Yeah.
is what I'm looking for. If you can't do the X, Y, and Z, I ain't the girl for you." How soon do you say that to a man when you're dating?
So that's actually what happened with the last partner that I had. I would say like COVID, like 2020, 21. And he didn't believe in that. He was a so-called traditional guy, Christian guy, conservative, allegedly. But he was like, what do you mean? Like, you want to be like, like you don't want to be 50-50? And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that.
50-50.
Yeah. And I
That's
was
a
like,
thing these days,
what?
by the way.
Like, there's no way. So that was like really, really like, at first we were friends. So it was a different kind of situation. We didn't just start dating from the beginning.
Yeah.
A friendship turned into that. But I assumed, I guess it was bad on my part, that because he had these values, because he was a traditional guy, because he was a Christian, because he was conservative, he would be okay with that. And so once we had that conversation, I was like, okay, like, I don't really think this is going to go anywhere, because I'm not going to be working, taking care of the house, cleaning the kids.
Yeah.
Like, and I genuinely, I don't want to give my kids to the state.
Well, I'll say this.
That's like a really big deal for me.
I think that's a very good point, what you're saying, the date that you're on with this man. I think also part of the definition of being a boy versus a man are the types of conversations you have with the people you're dating.
Yeah.
So, for instance, when I'm in my 20s, you're in my 30s, the last thing I'm talking to you about is how are we splitting the bills? What is life going to look like when we have kids? All these like deep philosophical life conversations. I'm like, where are we partying? Where are we going out? I'm trying to get you drunk. Like when you're trying to get just laid, so to speak. But when you're solving for a significant person in your life, a wife, a spouse, whatever it is, all of a sudden the conversations get elevated. And I think that's very important, that the words that are coming out of your mouth and being intentional. So for you, I'd rather you have that conversation,
right.
Maybe not the first date, Linda, but sooner in the relationship, rather than 2 years in, you're having fun and dating and you're like, so it's time to get serious. And next thing you know, you find out that your man wants you to split the bills with them 50-50. You're like, what just happened? Now you just lost 2 years of your life because you weren't intentional with your conversations. And that is also an element of being a boy or a girl versus a man and a woman, having these essentially difficult conversations. I don't know if it was like she was coming at you a little bit, our friend Linda over here, but she said, you talked about having purpose in your life, and you didn't find purpose in your life until you were 25, although you had your daughter when you were 19. So how do you grapple the purpose, what she's kind of saying of motherhood, and the role of motherhood, what Janelle speaks so highly of, but separately in the business world, finding your purpose at 25, 26 in the entrepreneurial space?
Well, I think that as we are little kids, we all have some type of desire in our hearts for something. Who's to say that her purpose is better or worse than mine. It's my purpose. It's her purpose. Like, let her do her. I'm going to do me because that's going to fulfill me. Her purpose is not going to fulfill me. It's different. Yeah. Right. So, you know, and I loved what you talked about with vision and a man with vision. Like, yes, you know, it doesn't matter. I've dated, you know, I've dated a lot. I even had one point in my life where I hadn't dated, and I grew up in a very, very strict home. I wasn't allowed to do anything, so I completely rebelled. And one point in my life, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to date. I was like, I'm going to go on a bunch of dates for a year. That's all I did, a bunch of first dates. I think one guy got to like 2 or 3 dates, but everyone was a first date.
Everyone was
first date. And
you know what that sounds like, by the way? A lot of free meals.
Sounds like a guy.
You know, and I honestly, it was that, right? Because it was so much trauma that I had been through to where there was protective mechanisms to try to make me be in a masculine role.
Well, yeah,
trying to understand
exactly. Something a guy would do, like first date, hit it, quit it. I'm not saying you did that.
No, hit it, quit it.
I was not saying that at all, but it's just very masculine.
It was very masculine.
It was masculine of you.
It was.
Yeah,
it was
so you're admitting that.
Yeah,
absolutely. I was hurt. I was a hurt little girl.
Okay, so please, thank you for bringing this up.
Of course.
Go deeper a little bit. You're going on all these first dates.
Yeah,
it took a year to do it.
This was years ago.
Give an amount of how many first dates? 10, 20, 50?
Over 100.
Over 100?
Yeah, I told you.
Kayla, you went on 100 first dates in a year?
Yeah.
Wow.
I did. And it was really bad. Like, in my brain, super analyst, I had like charts. Like,
I believe it.
Yeah. It was super masculine.
You have to have that to go on that many dates. There's a movie about it. I forget.
Yeah,
it's called 50 First Dates with Adam Sandler. What's going on
There's another one. There's another one where...
Yeah, round 2, 100 First Dates with David Spade.
I'll think of it,
Well, this is what happened with that, because I had never been on dates before. I always was like my daughter's father, and then I dated one other guy, and I was married. My husband was alcoholic, very physically abusive. I almost died. And I never had dated before. And I was so hurt. I'd been through a lot. And so, yeah, it was a masculine energy trying to keep me safe. And I was just like, I want to learn. I was in a state of curiosity. It was starting with dinner, and then they all got annoying. So I did coffee. I did a lot of coffee dates. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about men and how they thought and what they were thinking and how to communicate. And it was just really interesting. Learning about men, because I was always sheltered, so I didn't know anything about men.
Wow.
And you know, after that, I was able to get into a serious relationship for a little bit, and I started to understand how to talk to him and, you know, how to acknowledge him and make him feel important, and all this stuff that I didn't know about. My parents didn't teach me anything about. I had to learn on my own. You know, and then from there, I've been single for the past 2 years, and, you know, finally meeting this man. And 2 years ago, the love of my life supposedly like left me and like moved across the country, moved to another country, and was just like, Miami, I am partying too much here. I know I told you that you're the love of my life, but bye. Just like, you know, devastated. Yeah. Broke my heart. And then I went through a lot of, like trauma healing and stuff from there, did a really intensive program for about 4 months. And I was like, you know what? I loved him more than I loved myself. And so for the past 2 years, I was like, you know what would it look like if I loved me? Like truly loved me, loved myself enough to do the work, loved myself enough to, you know, not have my ego like die, just a million cuts of my ego like over and over again. And what do I not know? Where am I still broken? Where do I get to heal? Where am I trying to protect myself? Where do I get to surrender? That was the word of the year. Surrender into my femininity and be okay feeling safe, because I didn't feel safe for such a long time.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
And your stories, I mean, I don't talk a lot about my stories simply because it's none of anyone's business, and I really like to focus on where I am now. But I grew up in a cult and had a very traumatic childhood, and did my own spiritual journey, obviously, in the ashrams in Thailand and India. But when you say like you were wounded and like never, like I grew up in, you know, skirts and dresses up to here, down to here. I grew up as a missionary, so we were excluded from the outside world. I had no connection with television, magazines, nothing. And so I didn't know anything. So when I can relate to a lot of what you're saying, but I'm just curious because you said I didn't know about like dating, and my parents never taught me. Same. But I never had a desire to like go out and date a ton of men. And I'm just curious how you said I didn't feel safe. So I went out on a bunch of dates with strange men. How does that make you feel safe? That just doesn't make sense to me. And no shade, I'm just curious.
Yeah. No, I think it was me trying to overcome fear. I even had my roommate at the time, like, and I would send her a pineapple emoji for her to come come get me. But I was just trying to explore and trying to prove to myself, like, I can do it. Like, I was like, I don't want to be alone. I want to be able to do this. And I would literally have panic attacks. Like, if I walked into a store and a guy accidentally bumped me, I would start bawling my eyes out and like panic attack. It would happen at work, panic attack. I couldn't breathe. And I was so mad at my body for having trauma reactions to men that I was like, I'm going to heal this and I'm going to face it. And it was super uncomfortable, but I wanted to learn and I wanted to heal it. And I wanted to not break down in front of a guy that I didn't know. So I think that I was just trying to find my own weird way of healing it.
I was just so curious. I was like, I just don't associate not feeling safe with going out with a bunch of random strangers. For
I want to revisit that, and thank you for that, Janelle, because that's the perfect segue to this. It was after going on these 100 dates, was there one uniform lesson you learned about men in general? Like, I know blanket statements aren't easy, but if you could finish this sentence, all men or most men want blank.
I think that most men don't get the opportunity of really being seen by a woman.
Interesting. Very interesting.
So what does that mean? Like, meaning that men aren't able to even get those first dates?
No, not that. Just like, I feel like so many of us women were taught to where like men need to earn our attention and our affection and everything else, right? Like, you need to earn it. And I feel like men marry their wives, like, who originally act like that, but that would require a sense of vulnerability for myself to lower my guard and see you and honor you for who you are at this very moment versus you need to prove yourself. So I think that was the consensus, because like, if I could really just sit with somebody that I didn't know, get super uncomfortable and allow myself to drop my guard and be vulnerable, even though I felt so bad, and just really make them feel seen and appreciated and really ask questions and I want to know about you, and I'm in a state of curiosity. Like, I found that those conversations, like, I would just like, oh, like, they're really interested in me. And I'm like, well, what did I do? I'm really curious as to what, I just treated them like they're important.
Mm-hmm. You were curious about them.
Yeah.
Well, men will go for their entire life and remember that time that some random old lady told them they looked cute. They'll remember that for like 40 years. Men will remember a compliment forever. Because men don't get that kind of attention.
Unless they do some kind of accolade.
Dude, you are so accurate with that. Do you remember the first time that someone, like, I remember being 22 and I was hired, my first job was a sales job, and I was the only guy. It was me and a bunch of girls, like 6 girls. If you girls are watching, you know I love you. Like, my homegirls. And one of them came up to me, she goes, Adam, you're cute now, but you're going to be really handsome when you grow up. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess
you still remember it.
I still remember when she said it was in the hallway right there. Still to this day, I was like, I got something to look forward to.
Yeah,
wow.
It gave you that.
And look at me now.
You're pretty cute.
So, thank you.
But that's the difference.
I think you're very. I think you're. I think
but that's
right
the difference between fundamentally the difference between men's self-esteem and women's self-esteem. Well, men's self-esteem has to be self-esteem. It has to come from within you, because the external world is not really going to tell us we're amazing and we're pretty and all this sort of stuff. Whereas women are constantly,
all the time.
But you're constantly validated by the external world on your beauty and your value.
And that's why men are success objects and women are beauty objects.
Exactly.
This is why we invited 3 beautiful women on the panel, not three
ugly ones.
Ugly ones. So just to button this up, Kayla, Linda said she wants the man to pay for 100% of the bills. She got turned off when the guy was like, yeah, it's 50-50. She's like, next, see ya. You're about to, be in a relationship, or announce it. You're in a relationship. You're also an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
What do you think is the perfect balance income-wise in a relationship?
Well, for me, I've been in a lot of relationships where my vision and mission, like, intimidated them. Yeah. And I would feel like they would, like, kind of squash my dreams, or like, you really don't want to do that, and make me feel small. So for me, your vision gets to be 10 times bigger than mine. For me, you are the man. You are the leader. For me, I don't need you to take care of my bills, but it's really nice. Like, absolutely. Like, shower me, make me feel special, make me feel desired. I want to go to the nicest places. I want to be cherished. I want to be loved. Like, I don't also want to say, like, hey, like, let's go here for the weekend and you talk to me about a complaint about money, because, like, you're at that point, you're still trying to grow and become who you are. And like, it needs to be a good match. Like, I'm super ambitious. I want a power couple. I want to have one vision, one mission. I want to change lives, and I want them to do it too. We got to be in alignment with our values and our beliefs. And
so let's say you have that and you get that.
Yeah, I have
Still,
that.
bills got to get paid.
Yeah, what's the
Yeah.
So what do you think is the ideal balance, number-wise, as far as what he's bringing to the table and paying for and what you're doing?
I think that he should pay for, everything. And then
100%?
Again.
for me, myself is like, I like to pay for, because he won't let me, like, it's just like, oh, I can take care of this. But I just will do things anyways. I don't feel like bills are small. It's like, what is it? House, car, like electricity, like
Well,
the
Kayla,
bills. Like
most
on where
people
you
are
live.
paycheck to
Yeah.
paycheck.
Yeah.
2 out of 3 people are so. With all due respect,
Yeah,
bills aren't
bills
that
are
small
not
for most
small.
people.
Yeah. My whole life, I've always done everything and take care of myself. There's
Yeah.
never been
but
anybody.
now you're about to have a man who's going to take care of you. So
Yeah,
what's the
and
number?
I'm really
the ideal
excited
split?
about this.
She's at 100%,
Yeah.
and we're
I'm
going to
gonna
find out
tell
what
you
Janelle
this, yeah.
wants. Do you have a number in mind exactly?
Well, I know.
20.
I just
80-20?
yeah. What's the number?
I feel like my situation's different, so I don't.
Okay.
I
You don't
feel
want to go.
like-
You don't want to stick to a number.
No, I'm
balance,
like, I'm happy
okay.
to pay for whatever you need to pay for, but I'm not going to have anything paid for free.
Who's
so.
paying the rent?
Huh? He is, yeah.
Okay, so 100%.
Is 100%. But the
Janelle.
point that I think is real, and then I'll give you my number. The
Yeah.
point that I think is really, and I'm not trying to come down on you because I think you're very sweet and very feminine. Like, I call this like the faux feminine. Like, you want to be like, I've done all this self work and healed trauma. And I'm not saying you haven't. I believe you have. You knew Allison Armstrong. But I still feel like you want to be the man. Why does your purpose matter? Your purpose doesn't matter. Your purpose is to give birth and serve your man. And if you're going to be a boss babe and make, hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars, why wouldn't you at least chip in? Even we had a panel just today with a guy who makes 10 million a year. And he says he wants his woman to at least just chip in a little, just something.
Yeah.
So it shows that she's in the game. Like, what makes you so special?
Yeah.
That you're like, oh, my purpose matters and that I want to do me. And a lot of the stuff I heard you say was like, you still want to be in control of your life, but you're about to partner with
Yeah.
someone. And
No,
it doesn't
yeah.
work like that in relationships.
Yeah.
One person has to submit.
Yeah. No, I totally understand. And first of all, I wasn't saying that like that I want to be like, I am a woman and I want to be, and I'm learning and growing, right? Like, that's what it is. And this is new for me, and I'm exploring this, and I'm like also taking the time to have really amazing, uncomfortable conversations as I'm learning how to be loved.
Yeah.
Right? Because as it happens, I feel like I get love bombed and I still have breakdowns, and I'm like, I'm safe, it's okay. On the opposite side, where someone's trying to love me, and I'm like, oh, okay, you're safe. In terms of finances, right? Like, I wasn't saying that I wouldn't. I'm just saying that, for
Well,
me,
you did
my
say
mind,
that. You said he should pay for everything.
for my mind, I'm like, take my money and let's invest in properties, like, versus pay for bills, So I just,
That's still
But
like
that's
50,
still,
50,
but
right?
that's still,
I'm curious about that. So
that's still sharing.
You mentioned about like the importance of him having purpose that's like 10
Yeah, yeah.
times or like drive that's 10
Yeah.
10x what yours is, right? Say that guy comes across, and hopefully he has, with that elevated level of purpose and whatnot.
Yeah.
Are you gonna? Because like at the very beginning you mentioned that you have drive and purpose yourself.
mm-hmm.
Are you putting those aside right now to focus on his big vision?
Well, our visions are aligned.
Okay, so it's basically the exact same thing.
Yes.
Okay, well that's super lucky.
Yeah.
Hypothetical scenario though, if they were different, if he had, this is my steam engine going in this direction, baby.
Yeah.
Yours is currently going in this direction. I want you to hop on board, and he's going to take care of everything else. Would you?
Like, are you
I'm
planning
going to
to have more
put my
kids?
dreams aside.
Yeah,
I'm going to put my
I want
purpose
a
aside,
son.
and I'm going to jump
You
on
want a
his
son.
purpose.
Yeah.
So when you have a kid, then are you going to stop working and just focus on being a mom and let your purpose and your drive and your vision kind of go in the trunk and closet, close it, and just serve your husband and your child?
I think that is, being a mom is the hardest thing I think I've ever done. And I think that.
I concur, and
yeah.
I've done it alone, so I understand.
Yeah. and
But
so
is that you didn't answer the question though?
I understand. I'm saying that I feel like I've been selfish as a mom in my past. And I feel like if it came to the time where I would need to stop what I was doing and honor my child and give that child the experience, I'd be willing to do that for the child. In terms
For the child, but not your husband.
But if that's what but it depends. Like, is he asking that of me? Is he's like, hey, like, I really want you to do this
I feel
and
like
step
most
down?
high value men want their woman to be taking care of their children, not some childcare or some school. Like they don't want their wife being a boss babe and finding their purpose while their child's being raised by someone else.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think this is why I love what we do here on the show so much, is because there's no clear answer. There's no right or wrong answer.
I'm curious.
But these are the types of difficult conversations that you need to have in grown-up relationships.
Yeah, and exactly.
You know, like
uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's Sterling hit the nail on the head. Like, you got super lucky that you and your man's vision are aligned. Like, I'm doing this. Hey, me too. Let's do it together. Holy shit, we're doing this. Most guys hey, I'm an attorney. You're a hairdresser.
Right.
What, I'm a engineer. You're a bartender,
and
whatever
your
it is.
biological clock is ticking, right? Like, we need to have kids, right?
Yes, and
You
and a lot of women don't want to say, okay, babe, I'm on your team.
I got it.
Either the man isn't making enough money, so the woman isn't willing to do that, or they have a fear of letting go of the reins and saying, all right, I'm in your world now. Or they have this, I'm a independent woman, I don't need no man, or I can't trust a man thing. But at the end of the day, a lot of times people get, you think that these types of conversations are to, shit on women. Not at all. I think Sterling and I will tell you,
I think it's helpful.
Our favorite thing in life is women.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that we get along with women and that these dynamics work. But the power struggle of I'm doing this and you're doing this is really hard. Is this something that you have a hard time with women getting on your, on your train and going your way? Are these conversations in your world?
Yeah, I mean, that's how I vet in the first place, really, is there's a pretty clear type of woman that I'm looking for. She wants to have kids. She's family orientated. She has a good relationship with her father. She's religious. I'm looking for these kind of things in the first place.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for a woman who has like a long-term career and she's focused on building a business and that sort of stuff. So, like, she would kind of get weeded out at the very beginning of the process anyway.
She would get weirded out because you're asking her tough questions that she's not prepared to answer.
No, she doesn't have that, right?
She doesn't. We're not aligned.
Yeah.
We're not aligned. We're looking for two totally different things. And I'm not in the business of trying to change somebody.
Right.
Like, I'd much rather find someone who's more compatible for me.
Yeah.
Who wants that family life. Okay, great. You're my kind of girl.
You're the kind.
And back to the financial side of it, these
number.
women, are you taking care of everything? Is there an ideal balance?
Well, I'm not around them. I'm not around them 24/7. When they're around me 24/7, then everything's on me. It's all I take care of it.
When you're not around,
when I'm not around them,
working?
They all have jobs.
They
all have jobs.
He doesn't
Now,
know
let's
what
say
all
you
their
have
jobs
kids
are.
with these women.
The moment they get pregnant, I'm taking care of everything.
So that's it.
That'll be that's the goal this year. Is 2 of them.
That's
babies,
the transition
When they
period.
get pregnant,
Okay.
I
How does
think
it work
it's-
in your life?
Then I can move. Like, you don't need to work, baby. Cool. You're having my child, for goodness sake.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take care of everything.
Dude, you're gonna push out a human out of your yoni. Like, I think that, and you're gonna breastfeed. That's like, that right there deserves.
It's labor.
Deserves a check.
Janelle, how does it work in your world? Because
Yeah.
I'm very complimentary of you that, you're feminine. You have feminine energy. You recognize that traditional woman. You're a mother, but also, you work. You do retreats. You're an entrepreneur. How do you balance that?
It's really challenging because I do it out of, not of choice. My son's father is not. I don't like to talk about it, but he can't provide. We'll just say that. Okay. He cannot provide.
Okay.
And I'm not going to put my son's business out there as dad, but we'll just say he can't provide. Okay. So I was forced into that role by my decision, to provide for my son. So it is extremely challenging. I was telling Sterling, and a lot of people, when they see me teaching and they see me on shows, they're like, damn, what she's saying is feminine, but she looks masculine, like how I'm talking. Because I do that, obviously, for people to take me seriously and understand, like, I speak with authority, I speak with Shiva, with masculine energy, to make sure that my point gets across and that people say yes and believe. Because that's what I want. Anytime you're in front of people, you want them to say yes, and I agree with you. And I do that, first rule of sales, right? Mm-hmm. So when we were at this last podcast, I was like, Sterling, please. I was like, can you just handle this? I'm like I'm all over the place, right? I'm feminine. Like, I'm just, I can't do that. So to answer your question, for me, it's a lot of feminine self-practice that I do. I yoni steam every single freaking day. I'm going to open a shop soon. I use my eggs every single day. I do feminine things. I do movement, dance movement, my own method that I teach women. I put myself around alpha men all the time. I don't fuck with regular guys who are anybody. Like, no, if you're around me, you are a powerful man.
You hear that, gentlemen?
And I do that. Like, you look at my Instagram, like, you know, Mike Rashid, all these Terrell, like all these people that I surround myself with, they're real alpha men. And so by default, I turn feminine. I am feminine, but it invokes more femininity because the law of sexual polarity is if you have one masculine, one feminine, whichever one's more dominant, the other person's going to flip. So if you're more masculinely dominant, your man's going to flip to feminine. It's just not anything you do. It just happens. So for me, it is work for me to stay in that feminine role because I am providing.
Let me ask the chat real quick because we're kind of breaking down these numbers, 80-20, 50-50, 100%. The role of a provider today, if you're trying to be in a long-term committed relationship with someone, what percentage as a man do you want to pay? Is it 100%? She needs to get on your vision, support the family. Is it a 50-50? Put it in the chat below. I want to get a basic read on what you think it is, ideally. And Natalia, would you read those? You talked about the relationship didn't work with your son's father because he wasn't able to provide. I want to give you some data as far as the man being the provider versus the woman being the provider. So Cosmo did an article, the magazine Cosmopolitan, and they interviewed a panel of 12 different women. They asked them a series of questions, and all these women provided for their man. And these were the most common responses that the women said about supporting their man. They said that they felt an actual power dynamic shift going from the man to the female as the power player. They said there was a high level of stress, that the men were constantly seeking assurance from their woman. Baby, is it okay? Are we okay? Okay. They said that was very unattractive. She started paying, and the more she started paying, somehow the dudes lost drive and got lazy. Interesting. And ultimately, the woman lost respect, and at the end, they ended the relationship with their man. So the concept of the woman being the provider in today's society, I think 4 out of 10 women in relationships are the breadwinners in relationships.
Correct. That's correct.
So we're dynamic. So rule number 1 of these 3 things that a man has to do in order to be a man, to be the provider.
Cha-ching.
Okay, or your woman is going to leave you.
Yeah.
Speaking of a woman who is looking for a provider, Natalia, let's play this clip. Do you want to play the whole thing?
Is this Natalia?
It's a minute long.
You want me to?
I'll play the whole thing and then we'll do it we'll weigh in at the end.
Okay.
So here's a clip. Hold on.
Sorry.
Let's get this on the screen.
Yeah.
Deli, Andres, here's this girl. If we can widen the screen. Here's a woman. Tee this up. Here's a woman who clearly is looking for a provider in her life. This is via our friend Red Pill Ricky. Go ahead.
Working is not a compliment.
But no, I'm just saying that even as a housewife, you have to work.
I work so I can buy shit, and that's it.
Oh my God.
That's the only reason why I work.
Okay, but that's the reason everybody works, so they can buy shit. Why are you driving a truck right now instead of working for your husband and being a wife?
My mom didn't do her motherfucking job and create generational wealth for me, so now I gotta work.
I can understand that, but that's not your mother's job. It's your job to go out and create a life for yourself. You fell for the same trick everyone else falls for, to be an independent woman and go out here and work instead of being a wife and working for your husband. That's what you should have done.
Stop being fucking rude. Stop being rude. Stop it.
Okay, look, I'm not trying to be rude, but what is wrong with you right now?
I gotta cook. I gotta clean. I gotta work. I gotta do my own hair. Jesus, where is the end?
I'll come get you, but you gotta calm down.
Please come get me. I don't wanna work. I'm tired.
Come get me. I don't want to work. I'm tired.
Oh my God.
How many women do you think low key, they're not verbally saying it, but feel that? How many women are like, I don't want to work. Come get me, husband. What do you think, Linda?
I think like 90% of them, and there's
90% of women think like that.
a lot of them. There's a trend on TikTok right now, for the TikTokers, of girls driving to their corporate job. You can tell they're like, younger, maybe like in their 20s, 30s and they're like crying, right? So they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I'm tired of this. I just want to be soft. And like, this is terrible. And so, and I've seen a couple of those. And when Ali was here last week with us on the show, on my podcast, we talked about it because I was in corporate before and I hated it. And I say it now, and I say that just women don't belong in corporate. And people get mad and I get hate for it. But the reality is that there's, you start cheating, there's cheating going on, especially if you're obviously mixing genders, which most jobs do. We talked about it earlier as well. They use women for sales because of their sexuality, because they look good, and then, more situations happen. So I think most women, giving the situation, if their man was high value and said, stay home, I'll be the provider. All you have to do is cook, clean, take care of the kids. They'll be happy.
I disagree with that 1,000%.
You do disagree with what Linda's saying?
Yeah, I like you though, Linda.
Thank you. But the last thing that I will say, I'm sorry, the last thing that I will say is that in my girlfriends, right, the ones that are that let the man take care of the bills and everything and stay home with the kids, they're a lot less stressed and happier than the other ones that I know who have to work because they just simply, like, it's like you said, like, people are living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
And they're stressed out and they're like, I just got out of work and I have to pick up my kid and then I have to do this and then I have to do that. It's like they never get a break, They're exhausted.
I mean, look how exhausted and stressed out.
Literally, they're like terrible.
Come get me.
Come get me.
Janelle, what do you disagree with Linda? Because I thought that
disagree.
you would fully agree with what she had to say.
Because of what she said at the very end.
What was that?
Women today like stress. You know why? Because they're men. Men love stress. It's cortisol. They want to do better. They want to climb to the top of the ladder. They want to be the one. You guys don't get affirmation ever. You have to prove yourself. You have to be the best and the best, have the biggest body, the biggest dick, the biggest credit card, and still be emotional and tell your girl she looks great, but you have to be able to protect your family and kill someone if they come in. So that's the amount of stressing. And you have to get an erection. And you have to not be stressed out to get an erection. So it's
I know that's not a problem for the men on
that's
this panel, right,
that's not a
Sterling,
problem. So the bottom line is, I don't think that that's most women. I think that is a lot of women, but not most.
Okay.
Because women don't want to submit. They don't want to surrender. They don't want to make a sandwich, let alone cook a freaking pasta dish.
Like a real
They
meal.
don't want to clean. They don't want to. Women, even when they have children today, women are, and I am hating on these women. I'm sorry. The best thing for your child is to have your child vaginally. Yeah. Women are scheduling cesareans. They are not breastfeeding their children. I fed my son till he was 7. Not all the time, but till he was 7. My son is so emotionally astute. It's crazy.
And they don't want to look good either. It's really weird.
And so you talk about women don't want to do the hard. I'm going to say it's hard. I'm not going to say, oh, it's easy having my kid natural without drugs and selflessly having a child hang from my boobs for freaking almost a decade. Like, that is selfless. Women are selfish today. They want to have the biggest ass with the biggest lips, the longest weave, make all the money, buy their Louboutins, buy their Chanel, and then get a man to kiss their ass.
Yep.
They don't want to be a housewife. No freaking way.
Yeah,
no way.
This is clearly
She's right.
becoming more and more of a problem in society.
I just threw the number out there because I'm like,
I know what you're saying,
but I agree with her.
So you just went from 90% of women want to be taken care of, and now that after her examples, what do you think the actual number is?
It's
versus
so
there's a
hard.
want and what you'll actually do, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what Janelle was basically saying.
Also, society,
they're saying this, but when it comes to reality,
is encouraging it. Love.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have to go with the collective conscious programming, television, media, Beyonce, We Run the World, Cardi B, all these songs are like, I don't need no man.
Madonna.
I don't need no, everything is like, you don't need a man. They're literally pushing sperm banks. They're doing everything they can do. These giant dildos that fuck up women's yonis and make it impossible for them to orgasm, make it impossible for a man to have a fighting chance to make his woman orgasm.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Let's get to the heart of the matter.
All right.
You went from 90% to holy shit, let me reverse course. Now it's probably at 90% the other way. If most women are thinking like this, like saying one thing, come get me, I need a man. But in reality, they're like, no, I'm my own woman, I'm an independent woman, everything you just said. How should men operate? and what should they say and or do to convince these women to be more traditional, and because that will actually make them happier in the end, not in the short term with their Louis Vuittons and shopping. What do you think?
I said, we're just hurt. Like, you know, as I was sitting here contemplating, you know, would I surrender, right, to a man? I had this realization, I've never had that option. That's never been a thing. I've had to survive my whole life. Yeah. You know, like even thinking about that, like that scares me. Like, what do you mean? Like I would trust somebody who would just take care of me because I've had so many.
That's very honest of you. I'll give you that.
I mean, like I've never had that experience. Yeah. So I've always had to survive and do my own, take care of myself and, you know, make money. And I've had many times in my life crying and like, God, like, please come save me. I don't know how I'm going to pay for everything. My parents don't have money. I don't know how I'm going to take care of it. You know, to finally get to a place where we're actually starting to do well, you know, and so now I'm like, I finally got this. Now I don't want to lose it because I worked so hard to get here.
They're all valid points. Everything you're saying is very valid and very honest, and I appreciate that you're saying that. Because I'm sure a lot of women feel that way. And maybe a lot of women haven't gone through trauma, but they've also been told by their dads, you know, and society, like, you're a princess, you should be taken care of, this and that, you shouldn't have to lift a finger, this and that. Right. And so then when they get into these corporate jobs and they're making all this money, then a man comes along and you're supposed to say, like, I'm being devil's advocate here. Oh, okay, I'm going to drop this. So I get it that we're not conditioning women to be submissive.
Yeah, that's part of it. It's societal.
Right? By the way, thank you for being open. But let's stay on the actual question. What can a man say or do to earn that role?
Make her feel safe.
Make her feel safe.
Yeah.
Okay. And
how?
Go deeper. How can he make you feel safe? Especially when you first start dating. Because I think obviously we all admit once you get married to a woman, like now the dynamics has changed. But to get to that point for a woman to submit and feel safe, it's a slow burn. Like it doesn't just happen.
Financially safe, emotionally safe, spiritually safe, right? Like
physically safe.
Physically safe.
Okay.
So I think financial first.
How do you convey safety to a woman in the first month of dating?
I'll give you some practical examples.
Yeah, go ahead.
And maybe the women here can judge.
And then I'll add
because this would be good. Yeah, a good practical test. So, had this situation recently. Went on a first date with a woman who's a very entrepreneurial woman. You know, runs a very successful business. And the first date, I told her, obviously, meet me here, dress like this. I ordered her drinks. I ordered her food.
Oh, I love that.
I took care. Okay, bam, immediately. I took care of it all. And this is a woman who's extremely masculine in her everyday life. She's in charge of people. She manages a whole business. So she has to be on edge and responsible her whole daily life. I come along and I relieve that responsibility from her during this window of time that we're together. That allows her, in my experience, maybe you disagree, maybe you agree, but that allows her to get into her feminine and to be submissive around me. And it's not that complicated. For a man to come in and just confidently take control respectfully.
But most men won't go there, Sterling. I talked about this, my really good first date that I had, where he had everything planned out. He wasn't even from my city. He drove like, an hour and a half, 2 hours, and he had the date planned out. He told me what to wear, same thing. Ordered for me, even though I didn't drink, but he still ordered it for me. He took me to an activity that I wasn't a fan of, but the fact that he planned everything and it was all like, I didn't have to do anything. I told him, I was like, I don't want to have to think. And so I think that Sterling's example is a great one. By the way,
fully agree with Sterling, but let's go deeper. Yeah, that's a first date.
That's first date.
That's okay. Now you're dating a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. Because women, essentially what we're talking about is a woman has to just like let go and be like, all right, this dude's got me.
Trust you.
Which is very
hard.
difficult
very
for
hard.
a woman in today's society to do.
Correct.
To say, hold on, you actually want to take care of me? Why would I trust you? Oh my God. You make me feel safe. You make me feel secure. Can I trust you? I don't know. Never felt this way. This is crazy. Oh my God. How do I know you're not going to leave me? A woman is going through all sort of a mixture of emotions.
I'll answer that question too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Paint a picture of the future.
Yeah.
If you don't have a vision, if you don't have a plan, where she's going to be, like, where's this going?
Yes.
What does he want from
time.
me? She feels like it's a waste of time because you haven't, as a man, you haven't clearly painted a picture of the future of you two together and what's going to be happening.
And also create.
By the way, it's such a great point, and this is kind of what we talked about: is that being a provider or the breadwinner of the family is not just financial; it's vision leadership, and having a plan.
And a purpose that you're getting her on board with. Because like even I talked with Sterling about his, sorry to bring it up, but about the girls, and I'm like, how do you get all these women on board? Like this is, and they're different age, different backgrounds and stuff, but he has a very, like we've talked about it all day, he has a very clear-cut purpose of what he's going to do, where he's going to live, how many children he's going to have, how he's going to raise it. Like he has a fucking, like it's in graphs. He knows what's up. And women want to feel safe, but they want to surrender and submit to someone who's present, who's acting like Shiva. That's why I say, like, and then you have to also connect with them. This one is a little more esoteric, but I believe it's very strong. You have to connect with them emotionally and spiritually in a sexual way. That's why the presence activity, like yab yam, eye gazing, soul, all these things that I do at my retreats, there's a reason it works. Because it's when a man sits with a woman and just shows that, like, he's basically sitting and saying, I'm God and you're my goddess. And we're not going to say anything.
Well, we're going to do this activity. So don't waste the good stuff for right now. Like we're going to get there. So let me just wrap up this, because we talked about the 3 elements of being a man. One being a provider. So let's wrap this up. We'll move on to number 2. The concept of being the provider. The man's painting this picture. Now put yourself in the men's shoes out there. Obviously, if you're a millionaire and things are great in life and it's like, get on my team, awesome, I've made my money, I've found my career, awesome, get on board with me. Okay, oftentimes those men have plenty of options.
They do.
So they're choosing the woman to get on board with them. Let's say you're the guy out there who's making 50 grand. You're 26 years old. You're into this girl. Let's say you're 30 years old. You're making 80 grand, 100 grand. You're still not ready to officially take care of your woman, that she's just going to leave her job, because women want a lifestyle as well.
Security.
What can the man say to the woman to at least have her buy into the vision, even if he's not there yet?
I would say, are you going around?
Yeah, go.
I would say that, like, I know this sounds bad, but you really have to fake it till you make it if you're in that position. You do. Because I've had this very experience happen. I was telling Sterling where my ex is just not there. He's the demographic you actually described, money, age, everything. And he just simply said, listen, I can't give you what you want for at least 2 or 3 more years. I can't. But I'm not like, yes, obviously, you know, I date casually a few girls here and there. He's 26, right? It'd be weird if he didn't. But he's like, there's no one else in the runnings to be wife and mother of my children. You are that person. I'm like, okay. And whether it's he's blowing smoke at my ass or not, you know, and he
So you're encouraging the man to lie to you?
No, I don't think he's lying. I think he has every intent. He means that. He's like, there's no one else. There's no one else. You are that woman. I can't provide yet. I can't provide for you.
Okay, so you appreciate the honesty.
But I also think that he should make her inclusive into, even if he doesn't have the money, like, I want to build this with you, baby. Like, give me time. Like, he can't ask a woman for time. He can, and she can either say yes or she can say no. Okay. That's on her. But if you don't have the resources like you guys have, you can honestly say, like, and I hope they're being honest, but I would think they would, like, I don't have this yet, but in the next 5 years, you're in my life plan. I see you being the mother of my children. And like, I want you to stand beside me and all these things. Build with me. Use team, we, us, future, mother, children, things like that. Now a woman can decide at that point what she wants to do with it. That's her gamble. And the older she is, that is a gamble on her.
Got it.
Right? If she doesn't have children.
And I like what you said, using the terms like we, us, ours.
Team, mother, things like that.
What do you think a man can do to get his woman to buy in to his vision, even if he's not where he wants to be yet?
Ambition is sexy. Ambition is sexy. Like, you can have a man that's a multimillionaire that loses everything and has to rebuild it, right? It's the mindset.
Right? Let's say.
It's the mindset. It's the, like, I'm going to go after, I'm going to go get it, and I want you to be a part of it. Exactly. The team. That's it.
Yeah.
Linda, final thought.
I pretty much agree with both of them. I think I would add that as women, we are intuitive. We have intuition. And if you start getting like that bad vibe where this guy's like lying to me or he's bullshitting or just like blowing smoke on my ass, like, you're going to know that. Like, you're supposed to know that. And that's pretty much how I live my life too, not just with men, but in general, like you just have that feeling like this is just not it. So use your intuition, like tap into like that feminine energy, and you'll be able to know like, okay, this is not the guy, like I'm wasting my time. Because sometimes you could have that man that maybe has the motivation, the provider, has the money, all that stuff, but maybe he's just wasting, he's still on his fuckboy stage. There's like 50-year-olds still in their fuckboy stage.
That's true.
So intuition, I think it's a big one for women.
You're officially talking to a man who's graduating from
Yay!
fuckboy phase to a grown-up.
Let's
Relax.
go.
If I can do it, you gentlemen can do it out there as well. Give me some time, all right, ladies?
You're
Gotta fake it
doing
till you
it.
make it,
I'm
as
proud
a
of
famous
you.
woman
You'll
once
do it. You'll
said.
do it.
All right, let's move on to from provider to protector. Before we do, Natalia, is there anything we should know? Anything going on over there? Are people responding to chats? People giving numbers, how much they want to pay? Drive some traffic our way. What you got, Nat?
Yes, so thank you all for being in the chat and our polls today. I actually want to read the poll that you wanted to give, which was what % of men should pay in a relationship. I put 25% or less, 50%, 75, and 100%. So we have 9% said 25 or less that men should pay. We have 11% say that they should pay 50%. 75% takes the win that men should pay in a relationship, and then 100% is 39%. So it's really close between men paying 75% or 100% in the relationship, which I thought was interesting.
So the people in the poll
Okay.
basically say that the man should be shouldering the
75%.
majority of the
75%.
load, 75%
Correct.
or more.
Correct.
This
I saw
goes
some
to what I
80s
say,
and 75, but it's more 75.
This is very
80.
much on par with my 80-20 rule. Like
Right.
if I take care of the big stuff,
Take
I
care
can
of
tell
those.
you right now, because I have paid for women's lifestyle. I've lived with women. I've almost been married, engaged. I've done all this, right? There's nothing more annoying for a man than to pay the rent, pay the car bills, pay the insurance, do everything. And now on top of it all, I got to pay for your hair, nails, and shopping. It gets very annoying. I'm not saying I won't do it, but when you're like, hey, my hair costs $600, it's like, holy shit, and it's every month. It's like, my God, can you just go to my guy that fades me up for $25?
See what that natural
Doesn't
hair
work
looks
that
like.
way. So gentlemen, for the
bonds
gentlemen
are
in the
in.
chat that are saying 80, 100%, if you've never lived with a woman and paid for a woman these expenses, just be careful what you wish for. Because if you're the guy saying 100% and you have a hot ass girl that's living for you, be prepared to pay
Correct.
for ladies' expenses.
But then that
you
means-
think it's
yeah.
you don't think it costs money to look this good?
No.
Yes.
Gentlemen, it ain't easy out
It's-
there.
yeah.
$1,000
Okay.
for me.
Yes.
Nat, continue. We'll move on.
Oh my God, that's a lot of money.
Yes, so I'll actually go through the super chats we have. Thank you all for the super chats. We appreciate each and every one of you. We've got TRC in the chat. Good to see you, my man. See you in the chat. Jason Whitlock, Antonio Brown, AB Disrespectful Rat. Then we have we actually have the other poll. Does having sex make you a man? 75% said no, and then the 24% said yes. And then we have
Don't upset
Ashton.
Janelle now, okay?
Yeah.
She's
I was just
very
saying
subdued and demure today.
I was saying the concept,
Yes,
like
we
it
agree.
should be.
It should be.
We love you, Janelle. Go ahead.
And then we have Estino Elias. I'm so glad I found this type of content, this show, Fresh and Fit and Just Pearly Things. Shout out to all the panel today. It's a shame my church doesn't talk about this stuff at all. Then we have TRC again. Thank you again. Articulate, sexy, sophisticated, indigenous woman in the red dress.
Ooh,
That's
wow.
a name. That's a
Ooh.
nice little title
Indigenous.
for you.
Indigenous.
I don't know what
More white than
indigenous
anything.
means.
Yeah. He's
Okay.
indigenous.
Shout
wow.
out to my
Is that
indigenous
appropriate
friend,
to-
Linda.
It's
Yes.
probably the hair.
I'm not
I think
surprised.
so. It's like nice and just sleek
Yeah.
and very long. Yes. And then I'll finish off with this one, $1 Million Madness. Shout out to the godfather of the knowledge and wisdom. Girl in the red, what value are you bringing to the dream man other than your box? Plus, big win for the champ MLD. So that's the
Okay.
chats we have so far. Thank you all for the chats. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel. And let's wrap it up and finish strong, my man.
I just
Let's
want to
go,
pause right
Sosnick.
now. Let's just get the camera right on Nat. She looks glorious today.
She does so beautiful.
Look at that.
You're so funny.
We are
Hello,
selling
everyone.
her bathwater half off these days.
Adam,
my
you and this
God.
bathwater thing. You're stuck on
You're
that.
the one becoming a millionaire
You're
from
the
selling your
one who's
bathwater. I
stuck
don't want
on
to hear it. I'm just taking 10% as your agent, so I'm driving traffic your way. But thank you for all you do, Nat. If you're just interested in Natalia's bathwater, please contact us at 1-800-VALUETAINMENT, hashtag bathwater. All
Thanks,
right.
Adam.
These are, of course, jokes. They are not half off. We're paying full price.
I know you are.
Okay. All right. Concept number 2 of being a man.
I love Adam.
Number 1, being a provider. Number 2, being a protector. Number 3, being present. We'll stay on number 2, being a protector. Definition of protector of a man is you have a duty to protect your loved ones from harm, whether that's yourself, your lady in your life, kids, family, parents, or protect your home or your homeland. So it's been studied that men specifically have a biological instinct as a man to keep their loved ones safe from danger. So for instance, we talked about if you have a girlfriend or a wife, making her feel safe and secure. Women also have a biological instinct to keep their loved ones safe. This is specifically found when they have children, right? And mothers are the protectors of their sons and their daughters. But at some point, to all the mama's boys out there, at some point you need to go from your mom protecting you to you protecting your woman, your kids, and even your mother in your life. Like, I think, my mother will always look at me as like, oh, my little baby boy. But I take care of my mom. I make sure that she's provided for and protected for. This is what it, kind of it comes down to being a man. So what is it about a man and the protector that you look for in regards to that? You want to go ahead, Janelle?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me it's a huge component. Provider is obviously great, but protector is like, it's why I don't date average men, because most men are weenies, as Mike Rashid says. They're weenies, they've never had any kind of significant life event that's challenged their manhood. They just live in a beta world. So all they know how to do is be beta men that try to pay through life with their credit card. It's like, what can you do? Like, how could you defend my honor? To have a man that would defend my honor because I'm worshiping, serving him, providing him children, selflessly giving up my life for him, to serve him and worship him. Like, I expect a man to be like, take down someone if he even says something bad about me. So in that respect, I do look for statuesque men. And I don't look for them; they find me.
Physically, you're saying physically statuesque men.
And people are like, it's unrealistic that you would date these kind of men. I'm like, the last 10 to 15 years of my life, I've never dated anyone under 6'3". My last few relationships,
I got to go 3 more inches in order to qualify. Fuck. I thought 6 foot was good enough.
My ex is 6'8", 6'5". Like, this is what I'm used to.
Dunking on us, Sterling.
Athletes,
all these guys.
And that I know can get down, and that they do some kind of martial arts, or they train, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, something. And then that they have a level of spirituality on some level. It doesn't mean they have to be a Bible thumper, but they check in with a higher power, with source. Because that's important for me, because I'm following you. You're my God. You're my king. But who the fuck are you following? So I want to know that you're following someone.
Damn, great point.
Yeah.
Linda, what are you looking for in a protector in a man?
So I think what she just said right now, for a fact, a man of God, or, I try to always date within my religion, so that would be Christian. I think that it's beyond the physical, because you could have, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
The same. But I do think there is beyond the physical, because we can't say that because someone is like shorter or whatever, they can't protect you. And big gun advocate, so you need to be able to shoot someone and kill. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube. You need to be able to defend yourself.
Just to be clear, YouTube, she said kiss someone.
Kiss someone.
Not the other word that you thought.
So you need to be able to know how to, use
Protect and
defend with your guns. Yeah.
Okay. And then you, Kayla, what does a protector mean to you at this point in your life? Because you've said you've dealt with some trauma. I assume that the dude you're going to be with needs to make you feel safe and secure and protected.
I want to feel little. I want to feel like a woman around a man. I want him to be taller than me in heels. Yeah. I want to be able to sit and just relax in that, and then also the spiritual aspect is really important to me. I want him to be connected, tapped into source, be listening to something, be able to guide me spiritually as well as, physically. And yeah, that's important to me.
So I want to get your thoughts on this, Sterling. So I've kind of boiled it down to 2, maybe 3. This definition of being a protector. So there's obviously the physical component that you talked about, right? So your physique, your muscles, your strength, sports,
Martial
competition,
arts.
being a man, whether it's, 2A, and having that. And I think with that part, it's one of those things where it's like, no matter what you're doing, win or losing, it's that your willingness to put up a fight and not be a pussy.
Right.
I think is very important for a man. Even if you get your ass kicked defending your woman, I think they would find that. I think the underlying factor of that is a man who has courage. I think that is huge. So that's physical. And then there's the protection is more than just being able to fist fight. It's leading, advising, being a shoulder to cry on, so to speak, communication, conveying a steady ship, right? Being emotionally protector. I think this is important. Do you want to weigh in on that second concept?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's just been an attack on masculinity. There's been an attack on Shiva men, on men. Like Mike Rashid says, I've just interviewed him, so there's a lot of stuff coming that he said. He has this concept of divine masculinity, which is what I teach, divine femininity, divine masculinity. And there's been an attack on that. The society doesn't want men to be Shiva. They don't want them to be present. No. They don't want them to provide. They don't want them to protect. They want them to be confused about their gender, to turn into women. They want them like literally physically transgender, or just to turn into women by acquiescing their power, their submissiveness to a woman who leads them, because that's some culture. That's what makes the money. So I think for a man to be so in touch with his purpose that he is, and your purpose is your connection with a higher power, like what you were put on this planet to do, and to leave a legacy behind. When a man's tuned into that, he can lead a woman. But most men are just, what is social media telling me to do now? What, I need to it's not a real sense of God-like consciousness, divine masculinity. So when you find that in a man, it's like, it's intoxicating. You want to and like Mike Rashid, I'll just say, just to take away from the tall thing, he's not a tall man by any means. I'm not saying he's short, but not in comparison to the men that I've dated. I think he's 5'11" or something his fight weight. But sitting with him, I felt more connected to divine masculine godlike presence than I'd ever felt in my life.
Sterling, let me get you weigh in on this. So we talked about the physical component of being a protector, and then more the emotional role, communicative role. On your Instagram, you had recently done a boxing match in Romania with
the match was in Prague.
Okay, in Prague. I apologize. With our friend, I assume.
Through that organization.
Through the organization. Yeah. What was it like whooping someone's ass in the ring? I saw the picture of you like that. And then go deeper, not just the physical sense. When you're dating these women, how do you lead and have sort of an advisory role, protective role in the emotional, communicative sense?
So with the fight, it was actually my biggest takeaway from doing my first ever boxing match was that it's more of a mental game than a physical one. Because at least for me, I was the 19th out of 20 fights for that night, so I had to wait 6 hours all day in the backstage waiting for it. And I'm very, very grateful that I had that experience because in going last, because I had to sit there for 6 hours and control my emotions, keep my nerves down, stay focused, remember the game plan, don't let my emotions take control of me, because I was watching every other fighter and there was a bunch of dudes who let their emotions control them and they ended up losing. And so for me, that was the training was already done, the 8 weeks fight camp. Cool. That was the easy part. That was super duper easy compared to sitting there for 6 hours, watching everybody else go in and out of the ring, fight, and then staying calm and steady. So that's my biggest takeaway from that.
So it was more mental, staying calm, even though you were about to get punched in the face. Yeah.
Well, I did the punching. But
He said, come on.
By the way, how's the guy doing? Is he still in the hospital?
He's a fan of mine.
Oh, he's a fan of yours. He's out of the coma? He's good
great.
now?
He's great.
Okay, great. Good. Shout out to you, buddy. Okay,
and
then now how do you deal with that in the protective role with women?
In terms of the physical, you said something just then where you said you like to feel tiny. And that's really good to hear that coming out of your mouth, out of a woman's mouth like that, verbatim, right? Because one of the things I teach men in the bedroom is that by being a dominant lover
force.
in the bedroom, by being the kind of guy who can manhandle a woman, obviously consensually, obviously knows what he's doing, right? But by being that kind of dominant, forceful lover, masculine, manhandling, you demonstrate your capacity for violence as a man. You make her feel safe, ironically, because she knows you're a man who can be dangerous. By you being physically domineering like that in the bedroom, you show her that you actually are that protector.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's awesome.
Really?
Yeah.
We talked
Okay.
about this,
Thank
I
you.
think, on
And
one
you
of
agree
us.
with that as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You agree with? So hold on. I
Absolutely.
want to stay here for a
wait,
second.
So what was that? I know what I'm talking about? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So we talked about the physical being the boxing ring, but you say that the easiest way to show the woman that you're a good protector and a dominant man isn't so much what you say or even how you emotionally convey things, is that you're saying it starts in the bedroom.
It's one of the ways you can show it, obviously.
Yeah.
I think a more practical day-to-day way is by being very situationally aware as a man. You need to have situational awareness. You need to be, okay, there's a bunch of guys on that side of the road who look a bit shady. We're going to walk on this side, baby.
Correct.
Like taking that lead and being...
Like when a guy pushes you to the side of the road, like
Yeah.
you're like
Or
walking and
even
he's like,
more simple, like
Yeah.
if I go out on a date with a guy and he does not sit facing the door, I will find a reason to leave.
Yeah, I never said...
Or
I do not have my back to
Yes.
this.
I will never talk to him again.
Yeah.
I fully
Never
agree
talk
that
to him
if you're
again.
going to sit down, you tell your, hey, sit here. I'm going to sit here.
So many
You
guys
need to
are
direct
clueless.
them. And also, I remember a buddy taught me this. I think I was like in college. He goes, you're always the one that walks closest to the road when you're on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The woman walks on the inside.
She should walk on the left side because she's by your heart.
Ooh, that's why Janelle's here. Well, the sidewalk might be on a different side. But,
Correct, but yeah.
but the point is, you're going to be, as a man, willing to put yourself in danger first or keep an eye out for danger. So a woman doesn't have to worry. Again, going back to Kayla's concept of being safe and secure and feeling small. By the way, you're 5'10". I'll tell you.
5'7".
Yeah,
Me
she,
too.
I mean,
She's
you got heels on. I
You have
don't know
big
what it
heels
is.
She has
Yeah.
huge arms.
Yeah,
I'm
and-
5'7" too. I just
Yeah,
like
you're- and you're-
right.
Yeah, these are not
5'8",
small women. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, meaning height-wise, like, and you want to feel small and secure
yeah.
and safe.
That's huge.
Three S's
Everyone's
right
the
there.
same height
And
when
you
you're laying
don't-
horizontally.
and let me just say this for people that aren't tall, because a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're superficial." It's like, no, I'm not. Yes, I have 5 planets in Libra. I like aesthetics. Get over it. However, you don't have to be tall to create that presence,
Yeah,
that
that's what I was-
safety. Like you
right.
said, in the bedroom, things like when you're out at a restaurant, all these things a woman takes note of and will detect.
Last
detect
question in this.
Can I jump in one
Yeah,
more
go
quick
ahead.
point on that? Another way that men typically show this protector aspect of themselves, and this is something that modern women have a problem with and they tend to butt heads with, is by telling her what to do.
I love that.
Oh,
By
yeah.
being
Yeah.
by saying, "Hey, baby, don't dress like that.
Don't dress like
Don't
that."
post this on Instagram. Don't do this. Don't do that." Men are doing this from that protector
It's
Right.
very
frame
attractive
of mind,
too.
right? But a lot of modern women will kind of butt heads with
back,
that
yeah.
and be like,
I've been
"Ain't
told
no
to
man telling me what
I've
to
been
do."
told to change before. My ex was like, and he was only 25 at the time. I give him props. He's like, it wasn't anything crazy, but it was just like, he was like, wait a minute, you weren't thinking of leaving the house in that, were you? And I was like, I thought it was okay, you know. And
Did
he
you have a
said,
problem with him saying that?
Absolutely not. And
It's
then-
interesting because if a
I
woman
loved
ever
it.
said to me, Adam, I don't like that outfit. You need to change. I would 100% change
Yeah.
because I actually trust that she wants me to look
I,
good.
yeah, I
Now,
loved
if a
it.
girl, if I go to a girl and say, yeah, I don't like that outfit, you should probably change. That might be World War III of a fight with a woman.
But she's
Why aren't
masculine.
you-
girl? It
She's
depends,
masculine.
yeah.
She's not submissive. She's not assertive.
Well, yeah.
I
Well, you
told
just
him.
said that that's the problem with modern women.
Correct.
So
I told him,
it
I
seems
said,
to be a
okay.
pervasive
And then
problem.
from now on, I would ask him, I'd say, hey, how is this? He's like, fine, you're going overboard. Now, I'll let you know if it's something that it's not okay.
It's just because it's what he said. They don't take it from the protector, point of view.
You're trying to
They
control
think
me. Are you my
exactly.
dad? Why
Or
are you
fight
telling me what
with
to
you.
do? Someone tells me to do
Right.
at work.
Yes.
Blah, blah, blah.
Well, I think there's an intention, right? If your intention is to protect, that's one thing. Because I've definitely had men try to control me with an insecure intention.
There's also
Right,
insecure
like
men.
what does
with
that
not-
mean?
Yeah.
Insecure intention.
Like with worried about
But worried is...
I'm trying to go there. I feel like I've been told to do something by a man because he was trying to control me from an insecure place, because he was trying to be like, oh, well, when you go out tonight, like, I want to make sure that you don't dance, right? Like, we're going to a club, bro. Like, what do you mean?
But why would
dance?
you? But with you, was he going with you?
Yes.
And he would say he didn't want you to dance with him? Or?
Yes. Like, he was like, oh, I don't want you to dance. Like, we're going to stay right here. You know, or like, hey, and I'm
Is
like,
that
this
because
is
he
years
didn't
ago.
have good dance moves? What was that?
Yeah,
guy's
I'm not
problem?
understanding.
He was
He was like,
probably
well,
not
oh,
good.
well, we're with these people and I want them to watch you. You know, just like insecure stuff. You know, so I've had both, but I've never heard of this. This is interesting. I've never heard like, hey, I'm going to tell you to do something because I'm trying to protect you. I think that's really interesting to me. I haven't had that experience.
I'm looking after your best interests, like long term.
Yeah.
Like you might not be able to see why I'm saying this, but trust me that I have thought this through, and I think you should do this.
Yeah, no,
this.
I like that.
Well, like we said, we kind of boiled it down, this protector, into two buckets. There's the physical component of being a man, but there's also the advisory, communicative portion of it. Last question of this, then we'll go to the third one. Open question. Just give a yes or no and reason why. Speaking of being a protector, is chivalry dead in modern society? Go ahead, Linda.
Yes, I would say. And I think it goes back to just societal norms and kind of like the mix of genders, and we're both equal and we don't have to do this. And I mean, I haven't had awful experiences, but I've had some strange experiences, I would say. I've had some guys that do go out of their way to do amazing things and make me feel not so much desire, but like, what's the word? You said the word earlier, but I can't even think about it. I don't know the word right now, but yes, I've had
Chivalry is
amazing
dead,
chivalry.
is what
Yeah,
you're saying.
yeah, for sure.
Kayla, do you think chivalry is dead?
I think chivalry sometimes has to be trained again.
Trained again.
Yeah.
So it's not dead, it's just sleeping.
Sleeping a
Needs
little
to be
bit.
woken up.
Sleeping a little bit, you know,
Rip
like,
Van Winkle.
because we as women have this ability to praise the behavior that we like, you know, and they do it, you know, let's say they call you and you answer from like, oh my God, baby, I was just thinking about you. I'm so happy that you just called me.
Just affirming good. We talked about this
All of a
today.
sudden, that guy's like, holy shit.
He
I wanna
loves
call him.
calling me,
Yes.
right?
Men want cues
Affirming good behavior.
that, like, all right, this is I like this.
Yeah.
Some feedback.
Yeah, like the dress thing. Oh, I love that. Like telling me what to dress like. I'm like later, and I'd be like, baby, I think that was so sexy. Like you telling me that. Like,
You,
oh
you
my
tell him
God.
that, he's never going to forget that.
Correct.
Dude, well, that's what I love that.
And
stuff.
telling
Yeah.
them, and that goes to telling them what to do in the bedroom too, because a lot of women are not, and this is a good thing, well, maybe not a lot, but some women maybe aren't confident in the bedroom, and they're like, I don't know, is he gonna like this? But if you're like, get on your knees, do this, take off your clothes, and you're like, shit, man, all right, I'm down
Confidence
for it.
does it again.
Yeah.
So is chivalry dead in your world?
Chivalry's not dead, but there's too many women that are men. They're acting like men. And so I'd have men, like, I've always had the guys open the doors for me on the first date, all that stuff. I've never had a bad experience, ever, ever, ever. But I'm feminine, so I get masculine men. But if a woman is masculine and she's, you know, CEO and this and that, boss babe, she's going to get men who are like, you know, that are not going to do it. They're not going to be chivalrous because they're not being allowed to be that way.
All right, Sterling, final word. Is chivalry dead, and who killed it?
I think chivalry is dead because women have not rewarded it. Women control like men's behavior, like you said. Like if women didn't open their legs for a dude unless he was chivalrous, men would be chivalrous.
Correct.
Really simple. But because women will open their legs for a dude who's,
They have low
who's
standards.
an asshole,
Yeah.
who's acting like a piece
That's
of
what they
shit,
get.
then that's what dudes will do.
Yeah.
It's not that complicated.
Right.
Yeah, I think a guy, especially if a guy's into a girl, he's willing to be more chivalrous to attain the girl.
He
but
wants
if
to get her,
if
yeah.
she
He'll
doesn't
do anything.
demand that, then he'll just.
Yeah.
be
That's why I said I've
fuckboy.
never not had someone open
Yeah.
doors to go out, put the red carpet out, but that's because I demand that of myself, and he gets that energy back from me.
Natalia, I'll give it to you, and then we'll go to the final thing. Is chivalry dead in your life?
In my life?
Meaning, like, you're out there, guys try to holler at you. You've been on some dates. You know, you've got a lot of fans. Do you feel that men are being chivalrous, or that chivalry has died?
In my experience, I've experienced men be chivalrous.
And do you think that's because it comes natural to them, or it's the vibe that you're putting off where it's like, oh no, if I'm going to deal with this classy girl, I better bring something to the table here.
Yes, I think it's more that in a sense. You know, if women come in and they're a little bit more openly promiscuous, I think the chivalry becomes a little bit less for them. But if women carry themselves at a certain standards, I think the men that approach you, they immediately know, like, okay, this is the standard I have to treat this woman if I want to maintain her or if I want to keep her. So I haven't really experienced men not being chivalrous, but I know there are men out there who aren't.
Okay. Final question, just quick summary. How attractive is it when a man is being chivalrous, taking you out, doing all that, opening doors, being that type of man? How attractive is it of a quality?
It's so sexy. You being the man allows me the permission to be the woman.
Yeah.
Linda?
And it brings safety to what we talked about earlier. Like it starts showing you who they are, right? So yes.
I just think it's not you being the man. I disagree with that. I think it starts with the women. The woman shows up feminine, surrendered, open, receptive, submissive, and the man will be chivalrous. He will treat a man like God, and he'll be God.
Wow.
No, I agree about that.
Final word.
Being chivalrous works for me, fine.
He's got 4.
Look at me now. All right. Let's move on to our final topic. By the way, thank you guys for being with us. If you have not liked the video, please do. Show some love. Everybody's channels, Instagram handles, tags is in the description below. Give our friends a follow. Like and subscribe so more of our friends out there can consume this type of content. The third P, final P that we're going to talk about today is being present. And that's not just in your relationship, that's in life, being in the moment. We talked about being a provider, protector, and being present. Here's a definition of being present, and we'll open it up for discussion. To be focused and engaged in the here and now and be in the moment, not distracted, not on your phone, not looking all over the place, be in the moment. We all know that relationships fail due to a lack of communication and understanding and listening and being actively engaged. So this is totally your wheelhouse, Janelle. Yeah. So I have Janelle time on my card right here. What does it mean to be present for a man? Not even just in a relationship, but just in modern life today, with all the distractions we have going on. What does it mean for a man to be present?
It's unmovable, unshakable, unfuckwithable in his connection to his purpose, period, the end. Like, there is no moving him. Even the most badass chick cannot take you off your purpose. Nothing can. You are, it's all, you know, they say like athletes and stuff, they don't see, it's like they have blinders on.
Tunnel vision,
right? When you're on your fight. Even if the hottest chick with the biggest ass came in, you're like, you don't see her. You're so connected. I say presence, directed, connected, focused energy towards each other in relationships, but in this moment towards your purpose. So if a man, like, and for women, that is like intoxicatingly delicious. You're like, oh my God. If he's that committed to his purpose, he is going to be that committed to me and children, and et cetera, in the future. Right? If you're easily shaken, or you, I think we talked about it on one of the shows, like you blow up and you fly off the handle and you just lose it and you can't like maintain your composure and be, because, you know, you get you catch more flies with honey, right? Having that composure, but still being like fully engrossed in your purpose. Nothing can shake you. That is what I know is the definition of a man being connected to his purpose. Now, in a relationship, it's a little different, right? Because you have another human being, and human beings are unpredictable, right? And relationships, I have to disagree with you, Adam. They don't end for lack of communication. And what are the other things you said? Communication, something else?
Well, mostly communication. Well, obviously money and everything. What else are you going to say?
Relationships do not end for lack of any of those things. They end for lack of sexual polarity, period, the end.
Sexual polarity.
Sexual polarity.
What about money? There's like a big thing with like money
100%
too, right?
money.
Yeah, all of that. Listen, if you are, money is a byproduct of the sexual polarity being gone. If you are like for real legit, there's that traction, like when you meet your girl, like what you're like drawn to her, right? Like you feel this magnetization that makes you want to have sex with her, want to connect with her, want to spend time with her. You like want to be with her almost all the time, but then you're like, okay, I have my purpose too. So you gotta stay over there. Let me do my purpose. I'll make time for you. I spoon feed you in. Because if a man goes, when we're like, I need a man all in, I'm like, I don't want a man all in. I don't want a man that sees me all the time. If a man is seeing me all the time, there's something wrong with him. Because that means he's not on his purpose. Because I'm sorry, if you're making stacks of cash, hand over fist cash, there's effort that's involved in that. You need to be, hands-on or managing teams, right? So sexual polarity, when you don't have that attraction anymore towards your partner, you don't want to be with him. You become roommates. Don't kid yourself. So in relationships, people are like, oh, we're best friends. We always get along. There's no fighting. I'm like, you're not fucking then. I know that for sure. And if you are, it's terrible.
What is the fighting and the fucking? What's the correlation there?
It's traction. It's like that. Magnets. What do? They come together. So if the magnet is just like this all the time, you're just on top of each other. You need to have that separateness, masculine energy.
There can't
over
be
here.
attraction if they're on top of each other.
Together.
There can't be any attraction.
Correct.
If what?
Look, using the magnet analogy.
Yeah.
If they're on top of each other, there can't be any attraction.
There's no
So when you hear
attraction.
these
There's
couples
nowhere
are
to
like,
go.
we're best friends. We never fight. We get along all the time.
He's fucking other hoes, and she's
You
talking
think
to
so?
another. 1,000%.
Wow.
Because listen, so we're talking about, yes, money is like the straw that broke the camel's back. But if you're madly in love and you have that passion and you want to be on your purpose all day, come home and fuck, and then put the kids to bed, and then wake up in the morning and fuck again, and she's in the middle of the night waking up and sucking your dick, and I know everyone gets on me for that, but you know what I'm saying. There's passion there.
Yeah.
So what are they fighting about then?
So they're just little stuff. We talked about it today on the podcast, like, oh, like, honey, you missed a spot. What do you mean I missed a spot? Like,
toilet thing.
Just little things that keep you. If you have a
Little
relationship,
little bits of deliberate drama.
Deliberate drama,
Sprinkled in.
disagreements. Because if it is all cookies and cream and everyone's happy, then that's a friendship. That's a roommate.
Yeah.
If you're not, listen, I heard this stat the other day on marriages today. Around 20 to 30% of people in marriages today think it's normal to have sex 10 times a year.
What?
Whoa.
10 times
I thought you were going to say a day.
No,
that's crazy.
That's and check my stats.
A
It might
year?
be a year. That might be off
Who came up
slightly.
with
I think
that?
it's 20 to 30% in that range.
Oh my
That
God.
is what married couples today are thinking is normal in sex,
That's
or
less
what
than
they're
once a
multiple
month.
times
That's
a
day.
insanity.
Yikes.
So
Yeah.
the money is just the byproduct of the sexual polarity is gone. If you love a girl and you guys are having passionate sex, you're gonna figure the money shit out.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of
When
sense.
it's- yeah,
should a woman go home and just start a fight with her man today? And
No,
then
You also have
This has to come. This
what
has-
should happen?
Yes.
Okay,
It's
a
natural.
happy, healthy,
Playful.
a happy relationship will be one in which the man is deliberately creating a little bit of drama here and there.
little drama,
Because
playful.
if the woman is creating the drama, so like the analogy I like to use is an emotional roller coaster, right? Roller coasters have ups and downs. Sorry, John.
Yeah.
Ups and downs, right? Women need the downs. You fundamentally do. If everything is up and happy constantly,
You get bored.
it's super
and
duper
you're
boring
gonna
for women.
and you're gonna find Tyrone.
right? You're gonna find another dude who's gonna create some drama. Or,
Tyrone, you stay the hell away from my girl, brother.
But
If I find you, Tyrone,
Oh my God.
or you're gonna deliberately inject an argument or drama into the relationship just to create that negative polarity somewhere.
correct. So
So
women
if the
will
dude's
pick
in charge of
fights,
it, it's happy.
It's managed.
Because he's in control of the show.
but women will pick fights with men just to get their presence. So you have to understand that. And so you have to, this is where a man stays connected to his purpose. If a woman's picking a fight with you and she loves you, don't lose it. Just engage and flirt and be playful. Oh, honey, really? Why are you always, don't match her energy and become feminine. So that's where men lose it. You just,
I want to stay on one thing.
Yeah.
This concept of the sexual polarity and the friendship. So, girl I'm seeing, she's like, I think we're like such good friends, and we have all this going on, and we're obviously dating and having sex. And I just want to be clear with you.
we're not friends.
We are not friends.
Yeah, we're not friends.
Like, I have homies for that. I have girlfriends for that.
have
Like,
girlfriends.
friends. I do not want to be your friend.
Yeah.
Correct.
I'm not trying to
Good. I'm
friend
glad
you
you
up.
put that
Friends
down.
on the
Yeah,
internet.
I'm not like, don't get it twisted. We are not friends. Well, what do you mean we're not friends? You're not my friend.
You're not my friend.
I enjoy everything we're doing, the sex, the fun, the activities, the dating, relationships. You ain't my homie.
That's correct.
Don't.
Wow.
And there was this argument. What do you mean? I'm just like, yeah.
You're not. Because
Like-
you want a best friend. And people are like, I married my best friend. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, that marriage is going to end.
Wow.
Like 1,000%.
So are we all on the same page here that the man and the woman in the relationship shouldn't be
You want
best friends?
tension
Yeah.
all the time. That means sleeping separate sometimes too.
You know the Jewish do that?
Correct.
Muslims
And
do
and
that
the,
too.
the
The
tantrics
Orthodox,
do
yeah.
that. So
What
they
is
do
it?
not.
Sleeping in
We don't.
separate beds.
And the tantrics don't either. We have. If you have money, you have separate homes, but separate homes, separate rooms, and never the two shall cross. Once in a while, we're like, okay, we'll sleep together this one night, but your polarities, it's having to do with energy. It's a little esoteric, but your energy bodies mesh at night. And that's why they say, like, remember we were talking about grandparents and great-grandparents.
Yeah.
You know, they start looking like one another. And you don't want that.
No.
You want to always keep that sexual polarity alive. If you do nothing else in life, keep sexual polarity alive and you will have your partner forever.
Last question with this, and then I want to open it up. But so, what is the ideal balance? We talked about a man shouldn't be home too often; he should be out there. What is the ideal balance between a man who's kind of like needy and clingy? Certainly, women are associated with that, but a man who's like all up in your mix and like up your butt,
Yeah.
versus he just lets you do your thing, respects your space, your independence. What's a good balance with that?
Never thought about that.
At
Well,
what point do you feel neglected?
Yeah.
As a woman, you're saying.
That's what I'm
Okay,
trying
go
to
ahead,
piggyback
ladies.
off your
At what
question
point do
there,
you feel neglected?
Because that would be the opposite of like needy is one end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And you're neglected is because he's not paying you
Yeah.
any attention at all.
Yeah.
Right.
Where's that sweet spot?
Or you're saying like, or overprotective, where they're like, text me here, text me when you get here, da da da. And then the other end of the spectrum.
I'd probably classify that as on the needy.
Is that in the
needy
medium?
spectrum.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say like if here's my personal thoughts on this. If a guy is like like text me, obviously like either one, he's guilty of this, or two, and it depends on what kind of relationship you have. That's for y'all to decide. Or two, he's insecure. A real man, an alpha man isn't like, where's my girl? I need her to check. He just knows like, in the interview with Mike, he's like, he kind of came after Rolo and he's like, there's no parallel universe in this world where Rolo could take any of my girls, but I could take any woman he's associated with. And so for a man to have that much confidence or is like, be around my girl, like she's not like, you're not going to get her because you know that woman, yes, I said it, belongs to you. Like her life, her heart, her soul, her spirit, her sex, her body is yours. So that level of confidence means you're not like sweating her, but I would say like it's a happy balance of like, hey, if you're, I don't know about locations, all that, that's another show, but like, hey, if you know she's out at night, like, hey, I'm gonna call you, not even text me, hey, are you straight? You know, checking in and things like that. Being a protector, but not being a creep and not being a needy. Yeah. A needy, like that's a woman.
Let me frame the question a different way.
Yeah,
Okay.
'cause that's kind
So let's say you're a really busy dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got a lot going on. You're working. You're making money. You're traveling. There's a million different things you got going on.
So you.
So yeah. So when you're not with your girl, it's almost like out of sight, out of mind.
Correct.
Kinda. I'm not checking it.
You're on your purpose.
I'm on my I'm not even using me as an example, but use me as an example. That's fine. So let's say you only see your girl once or twice a week. Mm-hmm. To overcompensate for your lack of presence,
Mm-hmm.
should you be more, up her butt, or is it like, do you still need to kind of maintain frame? You see what I'm saying here?
I would
It's like,
say-
I haven't seen you in 6 days, so I'm going to be a little over aggressive and clingy, or it's like, no, play it too cool for school,
Just
because you're only seeing her once a
That's
week.
right.
But
What's
this is
the
like the
balance?
dating scene. Like,
What's that?
This is like the dating.
The dating,
Commit-
right?
you're
yes.
committed
And
or
even
dating?
even if you're married,
Committed.
you might have this type
I
of
think
dynamic.
it's good. Have time away. Don't see her for 6 days.
Yeah.
Don't see her for 10 days. That's great. It's great for sexual polarity. But when you're with her, be fucking with her.
Present,
The
not on your
phone is gone.
Yep.
Your work, have someone else handle that because you're missing 6 or 7 days, which is great. Build sexual polarity. But when she is the focus. So you don't need to kiss her ass. Just be a man's presence will break a woman.
So
She's
drop
like,
everything you're doing when you're with her.
Yes,
Yeah.
and when you're not, I don't think you should be up her ass.
Okay, so let's go deeper. Let's say you're with her, but you still have work stuff to do. Should you actively not put the phone down, put the laptop down, stop making the calls because you're with the girl, and now it's like
Don't be
you're
with
mo-
her if you have work to do.
Yeah,
If
like
you're
it should be
home-
me, like us time.
If you're home and you have work to do, just tell her like, "Hey, honey, I'm going to work for the next 3 hours or whatever, and when I'm done, come over or we'll meet or whatever." Don't
Very
never
important.
should the two cross.
Yeah, very important right there for you
Yes.
busy men out there, because you know
A real woman will respect that. He's on
Yeah.
his purpose. He's making coin. That means when he's going to take care of me or is taking care of me and kids, etc.
Okay.
A woman's always thinking about
Yeah.
it.
If she wants extra brownie points, she can suck his dick while he's working.
I've done that before. That's a great thing.
Of
to
course, Sterling and Janelle are gonna go. All right, well, you know,
I'm gonna agree on that.
great advice from the great Sterling. Last question on this. I know, so there's one more. Talk about men being in touch with their feminine side, right? Some women these days, they want a man who's in touch with his feminine side and has empathy and everything that kind of comes with that. He understands me. He's there for me. There's an element of being present, but also being a man in that. When does it become, like, when is it appropriate for a man to be over empathetic, even cry as a man, you know, or like express how tough his day was? When is it attractive and when does it become unattractive? Like, is there any point where a man being in touch with his feminine side is attractive? And at what point is it like, all right, now you're being a pussy, bro?
I think
What's that perfect balance?
It depends on where the relationship you're at. If this is your wife, your queen, I think that a man should have a safe place to come home and to be able to let his armor down.
Yeah.
And just be like, baby, this happened. And women do not give advice. Don't give advice to men. They don't need your emotional advice. Just listen, embrace, honor, whatever he needs. A blowjob was great. All these things are great. So I think for a wife or a committed monogamous relationship, that's okay to show that quote weakness, or just him saying, hey, men have it hard. They're out in the world every day with their armor up. And then they still have to be Shiva, but then they still have to be soft for women to take. I don't like the idea of feminine, like you say, I need to be in touch. No, you don't. You're fine. But when you're first dating, I wouldn't necessarily display that side.
Okay, Kayla, your thoughts, and then Linda. Men being in touch with his feminine
I've
side.
only had one experience where like a man like cried about something that, you know, we were talking about me, and I've never experienced this before, so this was really interesting. It was me talking about something that I had been through sexually with an old partner of mine that like made me feel really uncomfortable and like just really crossed my boundaries, and there was just a lot of stuff that went with that. And like he teared up talking about it and was like I feel your pain, you know. And he told me, he's like, at that moment, you like, I was like, I could feel her, I feel connected to her, I feel one with her, I feel like I want to take care of her and provide for her. And I've never experienced that before. I've heard of anything like that before. So I don't know if that would be necessarily like feminine to be crying. I felt like
were you more attracted to him in that moment because
his vulnerability was so sexy to me, you know, like the vulnerability was sexy. And then he went
because it came from that place of him being a protector.
Yeah.
That's probably why.
Yeah. It was really beautiful. So I don't know if that relates to feminine, because he was going straight into masculine, but it was really beautiful.
Sterling, go deeper there. When is it appropriate for you as a man, as a protector, as a provider, as a man who understands being present? When is it appropriate for you to let your guard down and really show your emotions, even cry to that extent? How do you handle that?
I mean, I wouldn't cry in front of a woman. I mean, obviously, okay, like if
your mother dies.
Yeah,
or
if a
something.
family member passed away and I just found out, I'm probably gonna.
Yeah, of course.
It's
Your
gonna be hard for me to
child.
hold back that level of emotion. Sure.
There's a difference between being emotional and having emotions.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be
like nobody
me.
wants to date a freaking robot.
Like a robot. Your
That's me
mind
having
like
an emotion.
shed a
Exactly.
tear.
Okay.
My mom just died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will never cry. It's like,
Yeah,
bro,
yeah.
what are
Come
you
on,
doing?
dude, hang
But
it
I'm
up.
not gonna
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go to her and unload that
Yeah.
stuff because that's not my. I don't see that as my job.
You don't
in
want
a
her to
relationship.
be your shoulder to cry on.
Yeah, I've got guy friends for that.
Yeah.
Like if I really have a problem that's irking me, I'm gonna go to my friends, my guy friends about this, because they're gonna help me with the solution. They're gonna be able to understand it, relate to it a lot more, and all that really does for her is show her that I have like, you know, maybe weaknesses and vulnerabilities, and so she just can trust me less really if I show her that. But if I'm just like, look, I've got it, don't worry, I'll take care of it. This might be a problem, but I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
If I can present that face to my woman, then she can have trust and faith in me that I will eventually solve all of our problems together.
Yeah.
All right.
And one more
I love when Sterling
Yeah.
speaks to women are like, yeah. Yeah.
Because
one
he's
more
right.
thing sorry about that.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Didn't mean
Sorry.
to cut you off. One more thing I'll add is that I personally have a problem with this idea of telling men to get in touch with their feminine
Yeah,
side
me too.
Yeah.
because it paints this picture of men being incomplete or wrong in some way. Like
Yeah.
fundamentally, there's nothing wrong with you as a man.
Yeah, there's not.
So stop pretending like
Right.
you're
You don't need to
you're
be a
missing
woman.
something because
Such
you're
a
not in
good
touch with
point,
your feminine.
Sterling, because men are encouraged oftentimes by women to
Yeah.
get in touch with their feminine
femininity.
side.
But
And
who
it's
are these
sexy
women?
and be feminine. But you never hear men saying, baby,
Be
get in
more
touch with your masculine
masculine.
They
side.
never say
They're
that.
I
trying
really
to
want you
say
to be more
stop.
alpha. Want you to be more masculine.
Yeah.
That's the last thing that we want from our woman.
Women-
Toughen up, babe. No. Soften up.
Soften up,
honey. You know,
please.
like no. So
I like that.
you know, we have this concept of double standards, and in no way, shape, or form do I want my woman to toughen up and be more masculine. Why would you want your man to, you know, loosen up or soften up and be more feminine?
Yeah.
Talked about
It's
sexual
the agenda.
polarity,
It's the
and
agenda
the energy.
of- yeah.
So you know what? We're getting on the same page here,
Yeah.
guys. We are coming now to the end of the show. We've had 2 hours of discussion,
Whoa.
debate, dialogue.
Love
no
that.
one had to run off to the bathroom. I'm so impressed. Give your guys a round of applause.
We've never had that anytime I've been on
it's
the
happened.
show.
Natalia did run off for a second. Where did you go?
I went to get water. I didn't
Sure you
have
did.
any water, so I went to get some water.
Okay,
I'm
well, you're
sorry.
allowed to have some
Okay,
water.
thank you.
Natalia, take us home before we wrap up and do our official happy ending that we do at the end of the show.
Happy
Yes,
ending.
I know that's your
Ew.
favorite part, Adam. So I'll get started.
It
with
always
that.
is.
Alrighty, so we'll finish with the super chats. Thank you all for the super chats again. We've got Zero's Lost 11. Shout out to you, man. You're always in the chat, so we appreciate that. He said, Chivalry is dead and women killed it. Being a gentleman or a nice guy is a look as weak, but most women. It's called toxic masculinity in 2023.
Wow.
Then we have Panica. He said, or they said, when are we getting King of Miami, Dave Grootman? He seems happily married with millions, social status, and atomic bombs.
I know
nightclubs.
Grutman. We're in touch. Put it that way.
Yes. And all around Miami. So those are the last few chats we have. And yeah, thank you all for the super chats. We appreciate the support. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel for more conversations like this. I think today was phenomenal with the panel we had because everybody comes from a different background and different experience. And shout out to you, Kayla. I really like to hear like your experience, and you can feel your vulnerability. And you accepted things that you never heard of. So I think that's very powerful in that sense. And a lot of the time today, people, you know, they shy away from that and they're ashamed of that. But I think that's when you really come to an understanding and you find out who you are through that. So I just want to shout you out because I really enjoyed listening to you today.
#1 female sales trainer under 30.
Uh-oh.
Watch out for a relationship announcement dropping soon.
Like an
Album drop.
Yes.
Kayla and
Love
her
it.
new man, IPO, dropping soon.
Oh my God.
Happy for you. By the way, I know when I say these 3 Ps, I like the rule of 3. There's people saying, well, there's actually a 4th P, and that is to procreate. But that is for another show,
Yes.
which
Penis.
we'll talk about having kids. About what? What was it, Janelle?
I
She
said
said
penis.
penis.
There's penis, procreation.
There's
Close
things
enough,
that I
huh?
think in my head that I'm like, Adam, that's a little
I
childish.
can say it.
Janelle's just
I'll
yelling.
say it. Don't just-
Penis! What?
That's
No,
fine.
that's,
Hey, it was a P. I wanted to get all 5 in.
I know.
Penis,
Well, there's
procreation.
also
I know. Yeah.
Hoo-ha.
Yep.
Okay.
I was
It is
happy
now
when
time
somebody
for the
said
happy
taco.
ending. Let's start with the ladies, and we'll work our way around to Sterling. Kayla,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
I think you were awesome.
Thanks.
I wish you a lot of success on your new endeavor. You're moving to Arizona.
Yeah.
You have an announcement to make. You have new things in your life.
I do.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So as of yesterday, we've officially partnered with 7th Level, and we will be helping create the biggest sales training program for women that has ever existed. And so really, really excited to announce that and our new partnership together.
Amazing. Where can people find you?
Kayla Living Boldly, or if you're a woman in sales, we have a Facebook group called Women in Sales. So you can come over. It's
Wow.
great.
See, you can be feminine and have feminine energy, but also be successful. It's polarity and duality and balance in life. I learned all this stuff from
Wow.
Janelle. I swear to
Yeah,
God.
you
I
do.
swear. I read her book. It's
I
amazing.
can't wait. Come to the retreat. Bring your girl.
Okay.
You should
We'll
do
see
that.
about that.
There's
Linda.
no swinging.
It's never swingers retreat.
Linda Catalina in the house. Thank you so much as well for being here. I think your dress stole the show. So respect to you. What's your biggest takeaway? What's your happy ending message, and where can people find you?
You can find me on at Wake Up with Linda on Instagram. I have a podcast called Mostly Peaceful Latinas. We break down current events. We bring on guests. We talk a little bit of politics, culture, everything that's going on in the clown world, because it's a little weird world right now. And I think this was amazing. Like, I got a lot of different perspectives. Like, I talked to her earlier, so we spoke about like women in sales and all that stuff. And then you guys, just another world that I don't really like get to tap into. So I'm excited to like see what you guys do. So I loved it. I love to hear different perspectives. I think that in a very polarized world right now, where it's just everyone's bickering at each other, everyone wants to hate each other, everyone's like, I'm right, I'm wrong, you're wrong. It's important to have these type of conversations, because I can take away one thing from everyone here and be like, wow, like what she said, you know, I can relate to that. And maybe I need to like work on some stuff, right? Like trauma or whatnot. And same thing with them. So I really enjoyed being here.
Well, thank you. We enjoyed
Yeah.
having you, and
Thank
thank you
you.
for being mostly peaceful
Yes,
throughout the show.
Of course. She was peaceful.
My friend, my presence mentor,
Sex guru.
my sex guru, Janelle, you've got a retreat coming up.
Yes.
Fill us in what's going on in your world.
So it's not too late. If you can get to the DR, we have our Valentine's Day intimacy retreat. Is not a swingers retreat. There's nothing sexually explicit that happens. I don't know why everyone thinks this. If you want to master your sexual energy, you want to master sexual polarity in your own life, in your partner's life, or you just want to attract a partner, this is the retreat to come to, February 11th through the 15th. And yeah, you know, if you wait till you're having problems in your relationship to start working on it, it's too late. Remember, we have to think of the law of the universe, the law of entropy or atrophy. Everything gets worse. It doesn't get better. Just think of men's penises, for instance. They don't get erections anymore after 20, 30 years. So we can prevent that by doing things now. It's the same thing in relationships. They start out great. They don't normally end up great. So if you want to prevent that, prevention is key, right? So don't they say this in the? So you got to do the work. Everyone wants lasting, passionate, orgasmic relationships, but then they don't think about actually doing the work around that to make that happen. And everything in not everything, most things in relationships are solvable. So yeah, you can find me at theofactors.com. That'll take you to my retreat, Instagram, Intimacy Insights, YouTube. I have tons of free stuff. Content there, and yeah,
She's killing it. She's got awesome content. Make sure that you follow Janelle, and if you're interested in attending one of her intimacy retreats, which we can talk about off camera,
we will.
we can talk about that. But major respect for Janelle. Thank you for
Thank you.
literally and figuratively being present. Sterling, 2 times in 3 weeks. Whoa. Major respect to you.
I must be the only other person in Miami.
Yeah.
Just keep inviting me.
I don't know. Maybe you're just dropping knowledge. You know, don't judge a porno book by its cover. Is what I would say. Okay, see what I did there?
I see what you did.
Where can
I got
people
it.
find you? And what do you want your lasting memory of this show or final thought of this show to be for the people at home?
Well, first of all, you guys have been absolutely lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you for today. And I just your inputs on things made me sort of dive deeper into a lot of these issues and come out with some really interesting insights. This was really, really fantastic. I love this. People can find me. Best place to find me is on YouTube. Just type in Sterling Cooper, STIRLING. Americans seem to spell my name wrong for some reason.
STIR.
Yes, STIR.
Okay.
Think of STIs and don't think of me.
When you think of a garbage, you think of a key.
That's
Shout out
right.
to my
That's right.
But
Coming to America.
My YouTube is the best place to find all the plethora of free advice I give out in relation to improving every aspect of your bedroom life as a man, be that if you have erectile dysfunction problems, you have performance anxiety problems, you have premature ejaculation problems, if you don't know how to get your woman off, I can help you fix all of these things and more. So come check me out on YouTube.
That's awesome. And just because I'm obsessed with it, one more time, Sterling, give your final farewell address as running candidate, presidential candidate with the American flag in the background.
My fellow Americans, do not send your kids to public schools. Dear God, homeschool them.
That is a platform to run on these days. Okay. Nat, final thoughts, message, take us home before I sign off.
I kind of gave my final thoughts. I loved today's podcast. I really admire having the different people come in with different backgrounds and experiences and then come together and give information. I think these are the podcasts where, Linda kind of hit on the nose, where you can take a little bit from each and every one of us, and kind of make yourself a better person. And sometimes, you don't want to admit certain things to yourself. So when other people have that conversation and they share, you kind of come to a realization. So I love today's podcast. It was a nice little lineup we had. And I would have to say it's a very good lineup we have. Look at how sexy all of our guests are today, including you, Sauce Man, including you, right? But other than that, thank you guys so much for the super chats. Thank you guys for participating. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel. And I'm going to be honest, we're just getting started with this dope lineup. So let's keep it going and take us home. Sauce Man?
Yeah, I think this was one of those shows that, I spoke, but I also listened. Yes. And I think that's the beauty of these panels is that we carefully craft who's coming on, who's going to add. Are these people going to agree, disagree? But kind of like what Linda said, you don't have to always agree, but you could have dialogue and debate and just have conversations. And at the end of the day, we want the audience to win. Yeah. Like, so for instance, when we did the poll, how much should you spend on your woman, or how much percentage of the bills you should pay? And the other polls, there's different answers. But I think it's about getting clarity in the answers you want in your life, different strokes for different folks, and finding what works for you and your significant other. But obviously, I came from a money background, and then we kind of became, more of a dating type show. I think it's clear, even with the ladies on the panel, is that we need to be a voice to help men become men. Shout out to my boys to men, but at this point, if the boys are still boys 30 years later and they're not men yet, then we have a problem with society. So Peter Pan's fine and all, but at some point, you young men out there need to become men. I've had to learn this. Sterling's had to learn this. We all have to learn this, so go through it. Keep improving, keep getting on your purpose, chasing success, and the women will come.
Can I say something really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, because I'm in the political world here and there. The last 2 years since COVID, there was a lot of attention around school boards, right? I don't know if you guys seen it. Parents going to school boards and protesting against the LGBT indoctrination, the CRT, which is critical race theory. Can I tell you guys that it's mostly just moms, like women, showing up? And we always get the same questions. I lend my platform to these parents, and they're like, hey, can you post this? Can you help us out? I said, sure. And it's just women fighting for their kids on their own. It's very seldom when you see men out there. There are, but it's the minority. And it's always the question, why? And I'm like, because even when they are parents, they still lack manhood. They don't care that their kid is learning about transgenderism at the age of 5. So if you guys are listening, pay attention to what's going on in your children's school. It's really, really bad. We've exposed a lot of stuff in Miami. Even here, that's supposed to be a conservative stronghold, red state. That's not the case. And help go to these meetings, speak for your children, because it's just getting really bad.
I think you're telling the men to be present and go to the school board meetings.
Please be present. Help your
if you learned anything today, give a like, give a subscribe. Thank you for being here. Men, strive to be a better provider. be a better protector, and be present in all aspects of your life and be in the moment. Thank you for being in the moment with us today on the Soscast and Valuetainment. We'll see you tomorrow where we're talking all about marriage. Dun, 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 dun. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one. Dun, 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 dun.